You're watching the 420 Pace Network, found at 420radio.ca and paceradio.net. Are you looking for non-stop, continuous cannabis and psychedelic programming? If you are, then turn your browsers to 420radio.ca or paceradio.net, where you will find the 420 Pace Re-Rolled Saturday. Everything gets started at 8 a.m. Eastern Saturday morning. Okay, Wayne, you did the last of the
I did.
I don't know.
So it'll be Bob's turn.
I can't even taste this stuff.
Just going to
What?
from
Why, Bob?
Because you're next in line.
You're next in line.
You don't even have.
We're going around each person.
This can't made bigger.
All right. So, with these, okay, they have. Not only do these packages have child-proof labels on them or containers, but in some instances they are adult-proof as well. Here, Bob.
There's hair on mine.
Yeah, hair.
Yeah. Two of them rolled on the ground, and we have a dog
Under the table.
Yeah, there's none inside the doobies.
Just gotta squeeze the two sides.
Well, you don't know that yet until you open it up.
Correct. There we go. Okay.
I was going to do that, but I left that.
Yeah, sure you were.
What do you want?
Okay, pull it out.
Oh, there's two.
There's two doobies in the container.
Yeah,
And
they're
they're
half.
mine.
They're 2 half-grams.
Are they half-gram doobies? Let's see them.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Put it here. Put it in it.
One looks like a 0.6 and one looks like a 0.4.
Okay, so what do we pass them around? And
Or 0.4 and
what we're
0.3.
looking at is how they look. This is number one. Okay, so the appeal. Overall visual appeal. Okay,
It's a doobie.
that's what you're looking at. Okay. This will speed things up,
I
Val, 'cause you
didn't
don't have
think
to
you were
roll
going to
them.
give it to me.
What's that? Oh, do you want that back?
No.
Okay,
What do you want me to do with this?
Yeah.
Plate it?
visual appeal. What do you think about the way it looks? Does it look good?
How do you people like it?
All
Looks like a doobie.
right. Okay, quality of the roll.
Right ahead.
Smells like weed.
Selection of the rolling papers. Selection of the filter.
Oh, we got to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
gonna do
yeah,
this
yeah.
again.
Yeah.
7 more times.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna
Okay, visual
we'll have to
appeal.
stop for something to eat here.
It kind of look good. I'll take it an 8.
Don't want people putting mustard on the doobies. Okay.
Good luck, you guys.
No,
All
how do you
right.
do that? They just
Overall
put the
peel. They don't look too bad. Okay. Yeah.
Let's see on the camera there, Al.
Okay, we're bringing it up.
You got to lift it above me. There you go. Nope. Yep. There you go. All right.
Oh, I didn't look at the filter.
Okay, hang on. I'm holding it by the paper up top. So you can see the two doobies. Right? Yeah, you wanted to see the filter, the paper. Okay. All right. You wanted to see that? Again? Anybody
Yeah,
else
that's
want
the
to
right
We haven't
one.
got
Anybody
that
else
yet.
want to see it?
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I just kind of passed it.
You're right.
No,
You're
actually,
right,
I didn't
Bob
see it. I
started.
didn't see it.
Yeah.
Oh no, thanks. I'm driving.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe we'll find that you might not. It might.
Yeah,
The
really
quality
stuck.
overall
Oh,
might
look
look
at
good
that,
right
eh?
now, but when we go to smoke
Yeah,
it, it might
got
be
a
hard
nice
to draw.
little filter in
on.
it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, got a late one.
I've
Oh no. Okay, we have to go around.
A dry
Dry
taste, yeah.
inhale. I'm gonna suggest to use both joints. One go one way, one go the other way.
Here.
That way, it just help it make it stronger.
You take
It'll
a
make
puff
it quicker,
and
too.
pass it that way.
Puff and pass.
Look for some flavors. Or
Don't light it.
give me my lighter then.
No, just, you gotta puff it dry.
Dry draw. Just
first.
Yeah.
No fire
Dry
yet.
no
inhale.
fire. Dry
Oh.
inhale.
Yeah, you can just taste it.
Dry inhale.
Here.
Taste.
You just get the taste, the inhale.
Pretend you're smoking
Just
it.
pretend you're smoking it.
There should be something that you.
Fuck, they're like trying to hide under the covers.
Maybe I'm gonna step on you.
Oh, okay. All right. Everybody's gonna go in to dress the burgers and stuff.
Get
Okay.
on that, Al.
Sorry.
No, it's not bad.
Oh, I still forgot. That you better come and see how these are working out. Or someone can come and tell me if they're really getting there or done or what.
So store bought. But the rib, prime rib.
No, it
Prime
isn't.
rib.
You're supposed
Not these ones.
you're supposed to
Oh.
light that
Well,
up.
that's what you showed me. In
I'm
the...
supposed to light it.
Oh, whoever. I don't know.
Okay,
what
now
it is.
are we done? Everybody's done. We've all had a dry toke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And been able to judge that. Okay, so let's move on. Let's
Yeah,
let's
so-
light it.
Number 5 was what you just did there with it not being lit.
I love the shit myself.
There you go.
I just fix it.
Okay, Bob.
Number
There's
6
what 2
is-
joints, right?
We're gonna be lit up for this
Uh,
one. You gotta light her up.
Okay.
Hey,
You gotta light her up.
What I'm going to suggest is that
Where'd it go?
Oh, Deb's got one. The other one's
if
on
we
the plate.
find we only need the one joint,
Right.
then the second
Oh.
joint goes to the cook and we'll open the container.
He's lighting it.
He's like,
Oh,
Sorry.
Dougie.
Not on this one. Bob decided to smoke his now.
all to himself.
He thought it was so good. He let this go on.
That's cheating, Bob.
oh,
Yeah, that's
Now he's going to start yelling at you.
Bit of a run. Everybody-
okay. So number 6, aroma to taste.
I gotta taste
Can you taste how it smells?
I'll give that a number.
And then the experience, harsh to smooth.
Yeah, he passed it. He passed it to me. Yeah. Yeah.
Ash color.
Hmm?
Ash.
Ooh, there you go. There's the ash color. Anybody want to take a look?
That's
Yeah.
all.
Hey,
really
dark gray.
Heavy, chunky.
I think it's the darkest.
Effects and experience, pleasant to
Harsh. Just,
Not pleasant. Pleasant.
Is it smooth?
I haven't had
It's
it.
not, I don't find it hard.
No, never mind.
Overall enjoyment.
Okay, let's go to that.
I hear a lot of coughing now.
That's choose to answer that when I get his drugs off. That's see if I can you quit. I want to see you cough first.
Pleasant.
So we're not going yet.
Alan, how do you turn your barbecue off? I'm just doing this.
Oh, just turn the dials to the off button spot. I'm coming.
Oh, that's what I got for you, little girl.
Oh, they're all off.
Who took the ashtray?
Al did.
Al does that all the time. This you're giving to me.
All right, 10. Overall enjoyment. You go out.
Oh, good so far.
It's all yours.
Oh, it's all mine.
It's very smoky over there, guys. What are you doing?
Yeah, it is, eh?
You want to take
Would you buy this product?
the hamburgers in there and you take this?
Yeah, I guess. What? Oops. Or put a number in there, or yes.
Yes or no?
All right.
Okay.
Yes.
Whoever
And
is,
then, yeah, the rest isn't even there.
as soon as you're done, Justin,
That's it.
you
That's
can
it?
run in and grab your burgers. And don't forget, there are donuts over there on the
What? No cheese slices?
donut. Oh, there's a grinder over there for you too. Okay.
Oh, is there?
Mhm.
Oh, wonderful.
Grinders a compliment of Greenhouse Seed Company.
From 1994.
No, I guess the name brand of this product.
Yeah.
I think I have a couple too.
yeah.
still, Al.
Products, just so you know the name, brands of the product. We'll review that again.
Sure.
No, thanks.
Everything that we've seen on here is
I got my cards right here.
know as a
Familiar
regular.
with.
Yeah, I know like one or two because I go to cannabis events. But
Now,
people like Bob who don't go to cannabis events, he wouldn't have a clue who these people are.
Yeah, and I don't know who these people are either.
Yeah, so they're growers, legacy growers. So that tells me that a lot of these were probably legacy growers that transcend
Yes.
into the legal market.
Oh, I know Castle Rock because Paul used to work there.
Oh yeah,
in Jamaica. Yeah.
yeah. There's probably 3, maybe 4 that I might know as I look at it.
I've heard
Okay,
of Freedom Cannabis,
okay.
but I don't know them.
Right here. There's. All right. Does anybody want any of this?
No.
No. Okay.
No,
If
no,
you want,
thank you.
go in and grab something to eat. People, they're gonna run.
Buddy
and
said
grab
he's using the same grinder, Al.
burger. What's that?
Buddy is using the same grinder.
Is he?
Yeah, and I have a few too in my keepsake box.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for tuning in, staying in there, and tuning in all day. There, everybody eats.
He's doing what we're doing, but not
Yeah,
not what-
Yeah. That's eating.
The video.
Hey, Darcy,
Hey, Marcel.
how good is $16 a gram pot?
It's not. It's not what I expected.
Is it worth six? Did you expect something good for $16?
Well, I expected.
The hell is that?
I
It wasn't-
expected. I expected his quality of grow, and then I got to remember he can't do things the same way as he used to do them at home. So
It should be up on Facebook now, Marcel.
I'm looking.
It was
So
okay.
far-
How about that, Marcel?
oh no, it was good. Don't get me wrong. It was slightly better than what's out there, but it's not worth $16. No.
We don't know what ours tastes like or anything yet either.
Well, on Tuesday.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
I'm starting her up here. I think I am. All right. Did you find it, Marcel?
Yep.
All right, good.
As Dalen can tell, we're professionals here.
It's good a show as I've ever been on.
Always the politicians.
There. I started the watch party.
Always has the right answer.
What are you doing? Nothing.
Oh yeah, I've already started it.
Lifestyle radio website. Sounds like a cool website. Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it. You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
You like music, you like weed, well, we gonna be good friends indeed. This is how much I like more than smoking trees. They'll make you dance the do-si-do and teach you how the chiva grows. Smoke a bowl on the 420 radio show. On Lifestyle Radio.
No one's singing today. No one felt like singing.
I was
Can't hear
lip
it.
syncing.
I can't hear you, Al.
You can't hear me?
Oh, I can now, sorry.
That's okay. Welcome to the 420 Radio Show. We're live here at 420radio.ca. As well, hello, Facebook people. Hey to Facebook, everybody. Come on, let's do the Brady Bunch thing.
Hello, Facebook.
I
people.
hate, you know I love you, Facebook.
One day I'm going to play it wrong. I want to welcome Senator Leach to the show. Hi, Dalen. How are you?
Hey, Al, good to be with you.
It's been a while. I invited the senator on the show because a few years ago we had him on the show, and since then he's been quite active in the cannabis with helping medical cannabis get into Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, that was my bill in Pennsylvania. Now we're working on the adult use bill.
So why don't you take us back a little bit to the last time you were here when it kind of started, right? You were helping young constituents in your area who was in need of some oil, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, it was actually wasn't my constituent. It was funny. It was someone who did not live in my district. She went to her senator, and her senator was like, I want to help you. Her son had Dravet syndrome, which is a very extreme form of epilepsy, seizing all the time. And she'd heard about Charlotte's Web in Colorado and how it had helped her and some other kids out there. And obviously she wanted to try it for her own kid, but she couldn't. And so she went to her senator, and her senator said, well, you know what, that's really controversial. I'm not going to get involved in that. But I'll tell you what, there's a senator in another district I'm going to send you to. Do you ever see that commercial when you were a kid, that Life cereal, give it to Mikey, he'll eat anything? It was sort of like that. It was sort of like, Dalen will do anything. So she sent, he sent her to me. I met with her, and I was so moved by her story that I promised her I would get the bill passed to allow her to use medical cannabis in Pennsylvania. And then we left the meeting, and I was like, okay, genius, how are you going to get this done? Because I was, I'm a Democrat in a Republican-controlled legislature. We do not, Pennsylvania typically does not lead the way on social change, and so it was a daunting task. But through a series of events involving persistence, involving a lot of luck, and involving some fortuitous coincidences, we were able to get this passed, and we're really proud of the bill we passed. We're proud of how it's rolled out. We have right now 22 conditions you can get almost every form of cannabis for, and we have you can use whole flower. You can we just, it's not perfect. We didn't get everything we want. You never do in legislation, but we feel that it's going really well. And so now I am focusing more on moving adult use now, because that it's a different set of problems that prohibition causes, but as you guys know better than anybody, still really, really bad problems. And so we're working on that. And we frankly, I mean, I can talk about, to the extent you want me to, I could talk about that, but I will say that the COVID-19 situation has made it far more likely that this passes in the short term, because we are desperate for money. We, in a bad year in Pennsylvania, we're like $200 million in the hole, and we have a balanced budget amendment, so we have to have a balanced budget. And so in a bad year, we'll have $200 to $300 million to make up, and it's always really difficult to do that. This year, we're looking at a $5 billion hole, unless there's some aid to the states from the federal government, which we do not see happening yet. So with that much money to make up, either through the cutting of popular programs or tax increases, legislators who previously were not very receptive suddenly are publicly saying it may be time to do this, just because we so desperately need the money.
You know, I find it hilarious, really hilarious, that the thing that everybody wanted to stop back in the 60s and 70s is now it's bringing countries out of debt. It's bringing states in the U.S. I mean, if they used it properly in Canada, it would abolish a lot of things. Just the money coming in from it, from a plant, you know. Marcel and Lenny and Darcy all work at an LP, a legal provider here in Canada, and they're able to take the knowledge that they've learned from being in the cannabis community as patients and take it to the legal side of things. And because there's a lot of crap going on about cannabis, you know, a lot of faux pas, a lot of fake news, as your boss says. You know,
Not my boss.
no.
Your boss. He's a Democrat.
Fair enough.
That's his opponent, Al.
Well, good. Go get him, buddy. The whole fake news thing is unfortunate for the medical side of things. They have completely dropped us out of the wayside in Canada as far as medical cannabis goes. You know, and it's sad. Anyways, I wanted to also introduce to you my friend Jack Lloyd, who is a lawyer here in Canada. He's also involved in a lot of the cases going on in Canada revolving around cannabis. And also Kurt Robbins, who's a technical writer in the cannabis world. He's been doing this for a number of years as well. And I'm sure that they'll have stuff that they want to throw at you too. So you've got a new thing that you're pushing basically for the recreational bill, yes?
Yeah. Now, we spent about a little over a year before the COVID hit, traveling around the country, meeting with stakeholders, meeting with experts, meeting with people who've done this before. You know, we worked very hard to get what we think is a great bill. It's heavy on social justice. We work hard to make sure that the medical industry can survive as well after we have adult use. And you need a medical industry even with adult use. You know, we think it's going to be good for the market. We think people will be able to survive economically, but we open it up all across the economic spectrum. The medical bill, for a variety of reasons, had to be structured in such a way that you really needed. And I'm sorry, the sun is. I'm told I look better when the sun goes down completely, but that shouldn't be too long. But anyway, the medical bill was structured in such a way that you had to have some resources in order to get involved as a license holder or as a dispenser. But we wanted the adult use to be much more democratic with a small d, much more economically available to people all along the economic spectrum. So we worked hard to do that. Now, again, when we're at the point of actually passing a bill, there'll be this is how all legislatures work. There'll be a room that people go into and argue things out, and there'll be compromises made, and you never get 100% of what you want, or you'll get 0%. So, we may not get everything, but we wrote the bill that we would want if we could get everything. And we think it would be, if this bill passed, we tried to learn from some of the mistakes other states have made. We're still doing it. We have a completed bill, but it's still in some ways a work in progress. Whenever we hear a better idea, we incorporate it, because up until the day it's passed through the legislature and signed by the governor, it'll change. But we're very excited about it. And hopefully we'll be able to make some progress in the fall.
Jack?
Oh, Jack Lloyd here. What a great pleasure to meet you, Dalen. I'm a lawyer as well. So I've been following your great work there in Pennsylvania for some time. And when Al asked if I would like to come on the show, I said, oh, that would be super cool. So thank you very much for hanging out and letting me ask you nerdy questions. In Canada, the history of cannabis legalization, particularly for medical cannabis patients, occurred through judicial change. So court cases that found prohibitions on access to medical cannabis to be unconstitutional. Do you have any thoughts on how that works in Pennsylvania and in the United States generally? Because I just, as a lawyer, I generally see the change coming legislatively rather than judicially. Do you have any thoughts on why that is?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. I mean, first of all, a lot of the change has come through neither of those avenues. It's come through referendums. However, Pennsylvania does not have a referendum provision. You can't put substantive questions on the ballot in a binding way to change the law like you can in California and New Jersey, where they're having a referendum this November on legalization. So we can't do that. So with us, it either has to go through the legislature or through the judiciary theoretically. There are some arguments. I think the arguments are stronger on the medical side in terms of, saying it's a denial of due process and it's a denial of a number of other substantive rights to deny people medicine that will make them better, essentially to make them sick. It's probably a little bit weaker of an argument on the recreational side. However, as compelling as the argument, as I may find that argument, so far the courts have not found that argument particularly compelling. I mean, a lot of courts are of the mind that, look, I mean, even if they agree with us, and I've spoken to judges, I mean, even if they agree with us, they would rather the legislature do it. It just looks better optically, and also because keep in mind, let's say the court said it's prohibition is unconstitutional. As you know, the big question is what's next. There has to be, there's a lot of statutory language, and then that leads to the promulgation of even more regulatory language. In other words, when we were drafting our bill, there are hundreds of questions that were unanswered. We had to answer them. If a court decision does this, it doesn't really answer any of those questions. So you're still going to need someone to flesh that out. If a court said tomorrow, cannabis is legal, well, okay, who can get licenses? What are the security? What are the health? What are the testing requirements? What are the reporting requirements? What is this? What is that? And so it's just very messy for a court to do that because you're still going to need legislation, but it makes it harder to pass in some ways. So I think the courts, by and large, are letting us at least take the first crack at it. And then if we draft something that has some problems, they can clean it up much more easily than they can create something sort of out of whole cloth, if that makes sense.
That absolutely makes sense. Super fascinating. Can you speak to, I know you're a lawyer as well as a politician. Can you speak to any unique elements in Pennsylvania. I believe Pennsylvania is technically a commonwealth. Like from a constitutional perspective and from a legislative perspective, is there anything unique about Pennsylvania as far as passing this law?
No, there are 4 commonwealths in America. As we listen to your viewers click off one by one.
Sorry, this
is why I didn't have a prom date. But no, substantively speaking, that's not going to be a major impediment. You know, there are some very technical differences, but broadly speaking, either we go around those or the courts tend to ignore them. So right now, it's a question of just getting a bill to the floor. Now, as you know, legislatures are interesting bodies. People in the general public often don't understand legislatures because they're very strange. They think that there are 50 in Pennsylvania. They think there are 50 senators and there's 203 representatives. That's not true. There are 2 teams, okay? The minority and the majority. And the team that has the majority controls dictatorially what happens in that body, what bills come to the floor, what bills run in committee, what they say. And when they run, I mean, every year in Pennsylvania, there's about 4,000 pieces of legislation introduced, about 200 get a vote. So that's 5%. Most bills just lie in quiet repose and die at the end of session. And so the reason I'm telling you all that is to say that, right now, I'm a Democrat. We have a Democratic governor, but we have a Republican House and Senate. And so in order to get anything on the ballot, I mean, on the floor to vote, the Republicans have to agree to run it. And that is that's why you have to negotiate, because they have different priorities than we do. But you can often get people to agree to different things to the same bill for different reasons, completely antithetical reasons, and that's okay as long as they vote yes. I don't care why they vote yes. So we have to appeal to them with things like, this is going to make a lot of money for people. This is going to bring in tax dollars that you won't have to. You can cut taxes then, or whatever. It's not based on, well, we got too many people in prison, and this is immoral to charge people criminally for possessing a plant, and all of that. That you get a different group of people that way. So it is. People have to understand. It's not just a question of I go up there, I say this is my idea, everyone claps, we pass it, we go home. It's a very, very difficult, circuitous stance where you have to really come to some sort of terms with people who don't agree with you on very much. And so that's why it's very difficult to get these things done. If you give me a super majority of Democrats, that's a different conversation, but that's not the reality here in Pennsylvania. I know it is in California, God bless them, but that's not the reality here, unfortunately.
And thank you so much. In Canada, one of the issues, we did it federally for medical cannabis, but one of the core issues over the last several years has been access to cannabis through storefronts. The government legalized it, but you could only access it through the mail, and that created its own set of really unique and in many instances quite serious problems for the actual people that are trying to access the substance. In Pennsylvania, could you talk about how medical access worked? Were there storefronts?
Yeah, but I mean, if I can just say parenthetically, this all shows how irrational all of this is. I mean, if there was medicine that was effective as cannabis, but it came from like the yucca plant, it would be in every CVS. You can go pick it up. No one would think twice. It's just these lingering reefer madness misconceptions and irrational positions that are causing these sorts of problems. In Pennsylvania, the medical bill said that we gave out 50 licenses. Each licensee could open up to 3 dispensaries, which means that's up to 150 dispensaries. Plus, there's another type of dispensary involving medical research, but we don't have to get into that. Let's just deal with the regular dispensaries for now. So it's 150 dispensaries. We don't quite have that many yet. Some are still up and running or getting up and running, maybe 120 or something. But they are storefronts. And the interesting thing is, and one of the things I try to tell people who are concerned about this, even on the recreational side, they're often the nicest storefront in the neighborhood. I mean, there is nothing about a cannabis dispensary that hurts property values, that degrades the community. In fact, there's two, if you're going to commit a crime or do something illegal, there's two places you definitely don't want to do that. Number one is a casino, and number one is a cannabis dispensary for the same reasons. You're being filmed from 8 different directions at any moment. So the stores are beautiful. People go in, they have to show ID. It's very professional. We've had not one incident. And it's one of the few industries that's doing better during the coronavirus situation than it was before. So, if you're worried, some people come in, they're worried, oh my God, it's like we're going to have a cannabis dispensary in our neighborhood. There goes the neighborhood. And first I look around the neighborhood, I'm like, there goes where? I mean, it's not like it was wonderful to begin with sometimes, but in whatever neighborhood it was in, it will improve the neighborhood. But yeah, we have 100. So like in my neighborhood, I live in Upper Marion, Pennsylvania, Wayne, technically. There are, I think, 4 dispensaries within 5 or 6 minutes of my house, and they're all doing well, and they're all assets to the specific communities that they're in.
That's super fascinating. Is there discussion in your assessment for adult use? Are you looking at other states and how they're doing their production and storefront issues? I think there's probably 12 million people in Pennsylvania, I think. 150 stores for adult use. Recreational probably won't cut it.
I'll tell you, Jack, it's interesting. And everything that we've put in the bill on recreational is a product of hundreds of hours of acrimonious debate, and yelling and screaming at each other, calling each other's names, insulting each other's ethnicity. We really went for it, but because these are really tough questions. We opted ultimately to take more of a free market approach, which I know as a liberal Democrat sounds like that discongruent. But I thought other states it's different on medical side because you're dealing with medicine, right? But on the recreational side, I thought other states try to overthink things and overregulate things. And frankly, I don't know how many dispensaries there should be. I don't know how many dispensaries the market will bear. The market should determine that. I don't, as a legislator, I don't decide how many pizza shops are open. As many open as want to, and the ones that make good pizza do well, and the ones that don't go out of business. And that's like how it works in America. And I'm fine with that. So unlike medical, we have, there are background checks you have to go through. There are, you have to prove that you know what you're doing type of thing. And you have to prove that you're not corrupt. But essentially, we don't say that there's X number of dispensary licenses. There's X number of, whatever. What we do is, because we want to protect the medical side, there will continue to be the same number of medical licenses, and medical is different. Medical, some strains aren't intoxicating. They wouldn't be of interest to a recreational buyer. Also, eventually we want to get it covered by insurance, and so recreational is not going to be covered by insurance, but medical. So, medical will have and medical can opt into recreational fairly easily. So they will have a large head start with branding, with loyalty, with community outreach. And that's part of what we give them. On the other hand, they will have competition, and eventually, it may take a while to ramp up. So we're trying to do right by both sides and try to find the sweet spot. Yeah. So as we think about adult use, we think about recreational. We think about a market where people can get involved if they think they have something they can contribute, and then either they will or will not, and the market will sort that out.
Pardon me, gentlemen. This is Lenny. I am a pharmacist, by the way. Thanks for coming on today. It was interesting. I really appreciate you saying segregating the recreational adult use versus the medical. A big issue in Canada is cannabis medical is taxed. Is that something, I'm not familiar with the rules in Pennsylvania. Is that something that may be different when your adult use comes out? Is the taxation going to be slightly different for adult use versus the medical or potential coverage? And as a pharmacist, I've also, last question, sorry. I've always found it very, again, I understand the FDA rules, things like that nature about the controlled substance and issues, why it is not in, you said, like a CVS or things like that, like traditional medicines. I understand some of the politics behind that, but could you potentially see that transition out? Maybe medicinal cannabis goes into the pharmaceutical world as your adult use grows, and those dispensaries become a little bit more adult use.
Well, you know that you asked. There's a number of questions there.
Sorry, it was loaded. Sorry.
I just hope I can remember them all. Number one, on the taxation, yes, that's another thing we do to give the medical market an advantage and a way to survive, which is that we tax medical. There's a 5% excise tax. Adult use in my bill has a 17.5% tax. So there's a significantly higher tax for recreational than there is for medical. As
very good,
which would make sense. I mean, because it is again, medicine should be taxed at the lower end because it's it's
100%.
Right. So anyway, that's to answer that question. But you asked a broader question, which is really interesting, and one of the things we spent a lot of time talking about. And if anyone else has any thoughts too, because I'm not saying we got it right, because it's a really interesting question on both the medical and recreational side. There is the question of, at a certain point, does it become corporatized? Does it become like, on the medical side, CVS and Rite Aid and Walgreens come in, and suddenly there's no room anymore for the medical dispensary, right? And that's true of the adult use side. People will think that eventually there'll be Budweiser weed, and there'll be Marlboro joints or Philip Morris or whatever. Now that will require the elimination of the Schedule I designation. I also think that will require the elimination of things like 280E, which make it very difficult to be profitable. But if there's a lot of money may be made by pharmaceutical industries, for example, I think you will see things like 280E go away because they have a very good lobbying efforts. One of my big, and I have, by the way, I have ADD, so you just have to, don't expect a linear answer. But I would say that one of the things that I want to work on going forward with my life is that the cannabis industry writ large is not nearly as potent politically as it needs to be. It is, we do not have the infrastructure necessary to defend and advance the industry in a way that other industries do, and a way that other interests do. Like, for example, I'm not a big fan of the NRA personally, but they're very good at what they do. All right. We don't have anything like that. Like right now, if I'm running for office in a competitive seat, and I know that if I'm with the NRA, they're going to be with me. And if I'm against them, the wrath of God is going to come down on my head, right? No one's afraid of the cannabis industry, okay? We're not recruiting candidates. We're not nurturing candidates. We're not picking targets of people who are hostile to us. We don't have think tanks. We don't have a recognized spokespeople around the country. We don't have a rapid response operation. We don't have messaging discipline. There's a lot of things we don't have that I would like to contribute to at some point. But coming back to your question, the reason I bring that up is because the groups that do have those operations are, for example, the pharmaceutical industry and the alcohol industry and the tobacco industry, all of whom are sort of lurking predatorily, waiting for cannabis to be legally respectable. They don't care about actual respectable, but they care about legally respectable. And so how do we make it so that the entire industry doesn't become Budweiser? Now, my philosophy is, let's talk about recreational for a while. I think there's room for Budweiser, but I like the model that we've seen in beer where there's Budweiser, but there's also hundreds of craft beers, right? And there's a lot of local brewing and selling going on. And then some companies break through and become, very, very, very profitable on a large scale. And so I want to the extent that I can in Pennsylvania, I would like to steer the structure we're creating for the industry towards one that allows both large and small players. All right, because you're never going to be able to keep out large players. They have too much money. That's one of the things money buys you. It buys you access. But we don't want them crowding out the market, so there's no choice and there's no opportunity for people who, and of course they will be pushing changes in legislation and regulation that benefit them and hurt the small people. So we have to fight for that. Now on the medical side, if let's say we got rid of Schedule 1 tomorrow, and let's say insurance started covering medical cannabis, which it should, I think you then start seeing Rite Aid and Walgreens try to get in. And then what happens to, in Pennsylvania, Alera or Keystone or, any of the dispensaries. And so that's a real question. And I don't know the answer to that question, but I want to do everything I can to at least give the smaller guys, by the way, who are not so small, but I mean, they can't compete with Walgreens. I want to give them a fighting chance. And so I'm always looking for ideas as to how to make that happen.
Wow. Excellent answer, sir. And any chance you got dual citizenship? Because I'd love you to come to Canada.
I love Canada. I took my wife for our anniversary to Montreal. And,
excellent answers.
Well, thank you.
So, anybody else have any questions for Dalen?
I would love to ask one more, sort of inspired by your response. You mentioned at the beginning that you were making efforts to have social justice involved in sort of your during your stakeholder meetings and during the preparation of the legislation. Are you taking any steps to try to have individuals with records for cannabis to be able to and allowed to participate in the industry? You mentioned they should show that they have experience. So certainly if they have experience, sometimes they've been exposed to the criminal justice system.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And yes, social justice, just for me philosophically, but putting aside what a saint I am, we're just not going to get a bill passed if we don't have social justice. You not only have to get Republicans to agree to run it, you have to get like the Black Caucus to support it. You have to get others. So social justice, for lots of reasons, has to be part of this. And so what we did, among other things, is we said that any cannabis-related offense would be automatically expunged, and the burden would be on the local district attorneys to go back through their records and make motions to expunge all of these. And so once they're expunged, because keep in mind, Pennsylvania, once you're convicted of a crime, you have to check a box whenever you apply for a job. You have, there are certain professions you can't work in at all, like school teacher or nurse or whatever. So it's really consequential. And so we're going to expunge, which means it never happened, anything that would be legal under the bill. There are theoretically some cannabis crimes that would still be illegal, but they're not, the vast majority, that would not be the case. Now, if you're convicted of fraud or other things that might make you a bad bet, that's a different story. But it's expungement. It's anyone who's in prison solely for a cannabis-related offense would be immediately released within 60 days. I mean, it is if you're in jail for robbing a bank and possessing marijuana, you still got to serve the bank robbing stuff. Okay. But so, and any marijuana offense would not be an impediment to obtaining a state license in the cannabis industry or to working in the cannabis industry in any capacity. It's not, to me, morally defensible to say this is no longer illegal, but we're going to continue to punish you for it. That's just that, no. And so we've done that. Other social justice components include, we did a lot with micro licensing. We did a lot with changing the requirements. It's complicated, but in terms of reporting and so forth to the state, we have home grow. You can get a delivery license. You can participate in the industry that way. We're opening up cannabis lounges, so you can open up a cannabis lounge or work at a cannabis lounge. And the micro licenses are interesting because they will give people an opportunity with almost no investment, because we give free training. You have to take a course, like you get certified. It's like a 4-hour, 6-hour course, but you have to take the course, but it's free. And then you can get a micro license to grow a smaller amount, and you can only sell it to the grid, because you're not going to have the wherewithal, most of these people, to do the sort of testing and other things that you would need to get to an ultimate consumer in a way that's safe. But I've seen this work. I was at Harborside in California when people would bring in bags of weed and they would get a receipt for it, and they would say, all right, we're going to test it or whatever we're going to do. We'll let you know we're interested. If you're good at it, people will buy it from you. If you're not good at it, they won't. My guess is most people won't be. I think people underestimate how difficult it is to grow something that's really good and marketable. But that's fine. That's like any industry. 80% of restaurants fail in the first 2 years. So, that happens. But my guess is that people who are very good at what they do will sell it to the grid and then eventually be bought, be hired. Like if there's some guy who's growing great stuff and I have a dispensary or I have a grow facility, at a certain point I'm gonna be like, dude, why don't you come work for me? And I'll pay you a lot of money and you can grow a whole lot of this stuff and we can both, and so I think you'll see a lot of that. And that's how capitalism works, and so, but we've tried very hard to do a lot of social justice components to the bill, including reporting on, things like minority participation and, things like that. So hopefully, we were the first bill, I'm proud to say, the first medical bill that became law that had a silo. It was a competitive process to get points, to get licenses. And there was different silos, your security, your whatever. And one of them was your diversity. And so you had to explain the diversity. And I was frankly worried that we were going to be challenged in court because the current Supreme Court is not big on that sort of thing. But we weren't, and it's worked out great. And we have a fairly diverse. There was some sort of like, all right, we're going to hire a black guy, or we're going to hire a lesbian, and we're going to give them a title, and but they're not really going to be part of it. They're going to be window dressing. There was some of that. I can't pretend that didn't happen at all, but I think for the most part, our diversity is legitimate, so we're happy about that.
That's fantastic, and is just such evidence of the right way to do, as you mentioned, capitalism. But that raises actually a really great question. I know in many states, the statewide legalization prompts a lot of state banks to increase their business because banks that operate in more than one state run into concerns there. Could you speak to the banking concerns faced by the industry in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I can. But first, I just want to say that Leonard has some kind of mask on. Please tell me that someone else sees that.
Al made me do it. Just saying, Al made me do it.
No, that's fine. I just want to make sure that I was, because if I was going to have to excuse myself.
That was Al.
I'm a bit of a predator.
Banking is one of the major problems with the industry. As you know, there's the Banking Security Act. There's a bunch of acts, federal laws that make it very difficult for banks, at least in their perception, to do cannabis work. And that has led to a lot of bad things, all cash. The first time I went to Colorado after they became the first state to legalize recreationally, the first dispensary I went into, the first thing I saw was two dudes with semi-automatic weapons. I'm like, this isn't very inviting, you know? But the reason they showed me is in the back there were duffel bags with hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash, which is a real target, you know? And I'm like, this is not good. I mean, first of all, I'm guessing in a purely cash business like that, the state's not getting 100% of the taxes it's owed, and it puts people at risk, and it's just bad for a lot of reasons. I've had a lot of people meet with me who have said that they have solved the banking problem. In fact, I met with one by phone just 2 days ago, and I'm going to look into it. I'm not a banking expert. I've learned a bit about it, but it is really difficult. Some banks will do some services, like they'll give you a debit card, but not a credit card. Other banks charge an enormous premium, which is already an industry that's already being pressed financially by things like 280E. So there are a lot of problems with the banking thing. In Pennsylvania, there are some credit unions, some savings and loans that are doing things and so far getting away with it. There are some banks, Wells Fargo, for example, has closed accounts of people completely who were not even, I mean, they were tangentially involved in the cannabis industry, but they didn't even touch the plant. They weren't growers. They weren't dispensers. They made like filters for extraction, machines or something, and they closed their accounts, and it's like, Jesus, so this is a problem we need to solve. As you know, there's the SAFE Act is pending in Congress, and that would help. So, but banking is a huge problem right now. We need, in order for I don't know how many of you went to MJ Biz last year, but I'm told there were 46,000 people there. Right?
It was huge.
What's that?
It was massive.
It was massive. I was there. I didn't count the people, but lots of people, and lots of booths of businesses. This is a major industry, and not only that, there are billions of dollars sitting on the sidelines waiting for more predictability and stability. So, we need to solve this problem. This is just irrational. One guy came to me that his bank is going to have a separate room, which was not owned by the bank, and it's like, I mean, without thinking through that, okay, so people could drop off money, I guess, but it wasn't the bank accepting the money because that room was owned by someone else in the bank. Like, the fact that we have to jump through these hoops is just stupid. All right. And, I'm hoping that we see some movement in federal on the passage of the SAFE Act would really help. So that's my answer.
We had the same issue with our banks here in Canada.
What happened?
What they did is they started closing accounts for the people that were actually in the legal industry, not just the illegal industry, but the legal industry. So a lot of the licensed producers had to go and scramble to find banks and institutions that they could put their money into. They've seemed to have backed off from that.
There's still some double standards.
But yeah, there is. It's definitely screwed up.
They are also giving the new storefronts in in Ontario, the walk-in stores issues too.
With the banks.
Yeah, it's caused a lot of issues because they can't open a bank account, and then you've got the same issue that you guys are having there, Dalen, with money laying around, lots of it. Jack, are you? I mean, Jack's pretty closely tied to what's going on in the industry here in Ontario. Are you seeing any loosening with the restrictions on banking here, Jack?
I saw a tightening of restriction. Dalen, in Canada, we've got sort of a what's called a Schedule 1 or a Schedule 2 bank. So these are generally larger financial institutions that have protections in place that satisfy Canada federally and then various provinces on a provincial or territorial level. What happened for the vast majority of the industry was that there were a number of very small credit unions in British Columbia that were more comfortable with businesses in the process of being licensed than other banks, and they basically scooped up the entire industry.
Oh, wow.
However, there was essentially a crackdown from the provincial government in British Columbia that resulted in those credit unions they would have won if they wanted to fight about it and say, look, like, you legalized it. We're a Schedule 1 bank. But they're a small credit union that could not afford a protracted legal battle with a provincial government. So they kicked out hundreds, more like thousands of these accounts. In Ontario specifically, as far as banking goes, in Canada, we've got what's called the Big Five banks. Only one of them will even accept a legal cannabis business as a banking client. And they require a $7,000 non-refundable deposit even to consider accepting a client. And so, which is just offensive to me from so many levels. It's a licensed legal business. But what is happening now is a rise in credit unions that are in Ontario that are Schedule 1 or Schedule 2 that are starting to offer more affordable banking services, but they don't have as many locations. So you're seeing small credit unions in Toronto with maybe 4 locations suddenly gaining like 100 new clients that have cash deposits of $15,000 per day. So now you've got serious concerns over, okay, how is this money moving from this storefront to the bank, right? It's dangerous if you have a large amount of cash. And that's the issue you saw in Colorado with armed guards and things like that. So the Ontario situation, unfortunately, is mired in just what Dalen talked about, which is this reefer madness thinking that a cannabis business licensed by the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario is different in any way whatsoever from, a local restaurant that serves, beer with your chicken wings or whatever. There's no functional difference in law, but from a stigma perspective, there's a huge difference. Are you seeing a rise in the use of credit unions and things in banking institutions of that nature in Pennsylvania, Dalen?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing people do whatever they can do. They go to credit unions. And there's always people who have a new take on the banking situation, and people are somehow getting by, but it's difficult, and it's expensive, and it's needless. So we're gonna I don't have any juice at the federal level at this point, but again, this is one of those things that it's not rational, it's not defensible, and if we had a stronger voice as an industry, we could get the general public to understand this. I mean, keep in mind, medical, at least in Pennsylvania, is at 90% popularity. I mean, people who never would consider using pot when they were in high school or college or whatever are using it every day. When I go to senior centers and speak at senior centers, the most common questions used to be about free busing and stuff like that. Now it's always, where do I get my marijuana? And so people don't want this to be more expensive. They don't, more. It's just, if the public knew about this and we communicated better about this, I think there'd be a lot more pressure to fix this, because it's such an obviously boneheaded, thing. I mean, even if you don't support marijuana or cannabis, if you think it should be illegal in all circumstances, this isn't the way to do it. Okay. And so, it's this is just no one when they drafted the various fraud statutes at the federal level. No one had. I mean, they were trying to talk to people who were like laundering, cocaine money from El Chapo. Okay, they weren't trying to stop, a licensed dispensary selling medicine to senior citizens. I mean, it just was never occurred to them, and so this law is being used in a way that was never intended to be used, and it just doesn't make any sense. So, we've got to push to educate people, and the more we do, the more likely this gets fixed.
Now, you got something to say, Jack?
Oh, I just wanted to ask on that. That's so fascinating. I agree entirely. I've been thinking about your comments on Section 280E, which is essentially, it strikes me as a nasty tool for the IRS to target these businesses. Functionally, can you help me understand it? Does it mean that I don't understand how the IRS can demand tax dollars from these, because essentially they're doubling their tax because they're saying you can't deduct business expenses. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a few exceptions, but generally speaking, you can't deduct things that most other businesses deduct routinely. And again, the original intent was if you were doing something, keep in mind, a lot of this stems from cannabis being a Schedule I narcotic. Again, cocaine is not a Schedule I narcotic. I mean, like this is being treated in ways that are completely irrational. And so, again, if you're laundering, $20 million of money that you got from selling, crystal meth on the street, we don't want that. All right, we want to make that harder. But that is not what's happening. I mean, it was never intended to be used for this purpose, and it's making it hard for businesses that are legal and businesses not only at the state level. I understand it's not legal at the federal level, but we've seen the federal government repeatedly say it's fine. Everything from the Comey memo to court decisions. I mean, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court just ruled it's an essential business. We went, in the context of COVID, we went from pariah to essential in like a year and a half. And I mean, it's like we have there's nothing that's rational about this law, about the state of cannabis law. And so we have to fix it, or we're going to keep having these stupid problems. They're just stupid problems. I mean, there's a lot of problems the industry faces that are inherent in the industry. Sometimes you get mold, right? Sometimes the market goes up, it goes down. There are too many, too little. There's a glut, there's a shortage. All those things that affect every industry. But like these just stupid ass problems are so infuriating, and they're so obviously fixed, right? And so, hopefully we'll be able to do that.
I wanted to give Kurt a chance to ask you what he wanted to ask you as well, because I know you have to get going. So, Kurt, go ahead.
Yeah, Dalen, thanks for coming by. Last year, one of the newspapers in Orange County, California, south of LA, did a multi-month investigative piece, and that actually resulted in threats to the author, unfortunately, from some people in the industry. Anyway, it showed that for every $1 that was spent in the state of California through the legal dispensary system, that about $7 passed hands on the underground market, a 7-to-1 ratio, pretty striking. You had mentioned earlier some of your tax rates and that you're proposing for adult use 17.5%. What was some of the logic behind coming up with that number? Like you say, lots of compromises have to be made, and there's pros and cons to a low rate, pros and cons to a higher rate.
That's a great question, Kurt. First of all, the thinking of it, like again, many hours yelling at each other about this.
I'm sure.
when you read the scholarship, and again, when I say we need a think tank, we need organizations that do the hard research to give credible data to guide people in the industry, much more than we do. We need a Brookings Institute, or
right.
If you know what ALEC is, I don't know if Canadians know what ALEC is, but it's the American Legislative Exchange Council. It is an organization that researches and develops proposed state legislation for conservative causes. We need like an ALEC of cannabis, right? So we need a lot more infrastructure than we have. But if you read the scholarship that's out there, it says that if you want to, like 20% is sort of a magic number, we were told. Like, in other words, over 20%, you're going to foster the black market tax rate. You're going to foster the black market. Under 20%, you won't. And so we tried to keep it under 20%. The other thing we have to deal with, as I said before, politically, the Republicans control, and what's going to get them moving is the money that we can raise. So we can't have a tax rate that's so low that they're not going to be, it's not going to be worth it to them. So that, finding that sweet spot is very difficult.
Right.
What I try to tell people, 17.5% should keep us away from exploding the black market. I forget what the rate is in California, but it was, it was higher.
It's between 35 and 43%, depending on municipality. Berkeley takes it up to like 43%.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
at that point,
Crazy.
Look, I am not, most people don't, there is still a black market for alcohol. I mean, there is still,
Right,
my
yeah.
wife watches a show where they still brew it in the bathtub. It's they're always running away from the cops. Like, there's still a market for black market whiskey, who knew? But I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to, it's not worth it to me to hang out with a bunch of guys named Scooter and meet behind a barn. Okay. I'd rather just go to the liquor store inside my Wegmans or, whatever. So, but if it was like triple the price, maybe I'd start thinking about Scooter. And so same thing with cannabis. I'm going to go to a dispensary. All right. Like I'm too old to be like, hiding, going to, underneath bridges and shit. All right. That's like, but, I mean, there is a point at which it just becomes prohibitive. So we want to keep it below that. So we thought 17.5 would get us enough money, but still not make it so it's prohibitive and therefore encourage the black market. There'll always be some black market, but as there is for everything, there's a black market for cigarettes. There's a black market for everything. But we want the black market to be a fringe thing like it is for these other industries. We want the average person who wants some cannabis to say, I'm going to go to, Rise. Up the closest one to me is Rise, right up the street. I'm just going to go there. And so that's the thinking. Now, did we hit that sweet spot? I don't know. We'll see. It's there's no way to know for sure.
Does your adult use include the self-production?
Home grow. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, you can grow up to 6 plants, and it's like one of our touchstones when we were drafting the bill, we had a few, like, whenever we were debating something, we had a few core principles that we always tried to remind ourselves of. One of them was no stigma. All right. And so we don't do anything that acknowledges a stigma to cannabis. It's an intoxicant, so you have to treat it like that. But it should be treated very similar to alcohol. In alcohol, you can brew your own beer, you can distill your own whiskey, but you can't sell it because we have no way of guaranteeing safety or anything like that. It's the same thing with cannabis. You can have 6 plants, you can smoke them, you can have friends over to smoke them, but you can't sell it. And so we treat it just like whenever there was something, how do we treat this? What do they do with alcohol? Let's treat it like alcohol.
That makes sense. Now, does your medical program allow home growing?
No, and in fact, it was in the bill. My bill originally had that. That's one of the compromises. I'll tell you the compromise, a little bit about that. There were a number of Republicans who were like, look, I believe this can be helpful to people, but I don't want to grow. I don't want, like, the image of people smoking weed is more than my district can handle, because they still have it tied up in their mind with, like, the hippies and burning your draft card and Jerry Garcia. And I would say, like, the average pot smoker doesn't look like Jerry Garcia anymore. They look more like Dick Cheney. but it's, you know, it's still like an image that people have in their minds, right? So anyway, they're like, I can't do people growing the plant. And they said, I understand the plant is the best delivery system for certain medical conditions, but I can't vote for people smoking it. So what we did is we didn't put in the bill that whole flower was legal. We put in the bill that there would be a commission that would decide if whole flower should be legal. And that way, and then we stacked the commission. So we knew that they would say yes, and they did. And everyone was fine with that. But it gave people some plausible deniability. Well, I didn't vote for those hippies to be smoking weed, you know, and so that's, you know, so there's something about like a person having a flower in a bowl or a joint that still freaks some people out. And so we had to give that up to get the bill to run, and we had to have the commission, which went exactly as we hoped, but still we had to have it. We couldn't have anyone directly voting for people smoking weed.
Wow.
I can understand that. I don't like the fact that they lost the ability to grow their own, because it would be a definite cost savings, plus very therapeutic for them.
I agree. But I think in recreational, look, one of the things medical has done is it has, to a great extent, destigmatized the whole concept of cannabis.
Right.
And so I think it'll be a lighter lift to get home grow after 2 or 3 years we've had medical in a recreational bill than it would have been 3 years ago. I mean, this is evolving. And so, you know, you have to play the game and take it sort of in the way that makes sense.
So we haven't heard from Mary Jane or Darcy. You guys got anything you want to ask Dalen before he goes?
No, I'm just taking it all in. Thank you again for coming on. Like I kind of agree with Lenny. I wish you'd come to Canada. Do you want a job at Health Canada?
I would, you know,
no, he doesn't want a job at Health Canada.
I will tell you this. I would like to I would like to eventually, and not that long in the future, do cannabis full time. So if you know anyone who has any interesting jobs, let me know, because I've been in the I've been in the legislature 18 years, and yeah, I think everyone should have. I was a lawyer for 17 years before that, so I feel like there's an arc to careers, and if you stay too long in one thing, you get stale. And frankly, my wife made a little joke. My two passions in life now are cannabis and animals. So she said I should do something with cannibals and combine the two. But I would love to, you know, funny woman. But you know, cannabis is really, I feel like there's so much that needs to be done for cannabis now, and I'd love to spend some time doing that. But anyway, look, I'm really grateful for you having me on.
Very welcome.
I'm easy to find if anyone needs to get in touch with me, and if I can help you, you know, please, this is what I want to do. So thank you, and thank you, Al, for putting this whole shindig together.
Well, when you want to come back, just let me know.
Okay, Leonard's still wearing the mask. Is that anyone?
No, I'm not wearing the mask. That's my butt in the back. My butt.
With that, I'm a bit of a prank.
Yeah, that was totally Al, by the way. I would never do that usually.
Put on the glasses.
What's that?
All right, guys. Talk to you soon.
I'll put them back.
Take care. Thanks
a lot.
So we're going to take a quick break, I think, eh? A little pee break. Mary Jane, what are you making?
I am making jewelry for a friend's wedding.
Ooh. Okay, I'll put you on feature when we come back. We can watch Mary Jane making jewelry, and we're going to talk to Jack and Kurt and see what they have to say. We'll be right back. This is the I got a song that I enjoyed. It's Jack Johnson and Friends, Better Together. It was done at the Kakula Festival this year. They did a live at home thing, and we'll be right back.
Tug lightly on this bowl of mine. Well, my screen has seen some better
4 minutes to
times.
pee, guys.
I'll be back.
But it poked a hole, now my weed falls deep inside. Please tug lightly on this bowl of mine.
So what are you doing? Nothing. Why not? I'm trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website. Sounds like a cool website. Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it. You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
One, two, one, two, three.
See how fast we get flagged by Facebook for this one.
There is no combination of words that I could put on the back of a postcard. No song that I could sing, but I can try because this is your heart. And these are our dreams, and they are made out of real things, like a shoebox of photographs, sepia tone loving. Love is the answer, at least for most of the questions in my heart. Like why we're here and where do we go and how come it's so hard. It's not always easy and sometimes life can be deceiving. But tell you one thing, it's so much better when we're together. It's so much better when we're together. Yeah, look at them stars when we're together. We're so much better when we're together. Yeah, so much better when we're together.
All of these moments just might find their way into my dreams tonight, but I know that they'll be gone when the morning light sings. So brings no things.
But tomorrow night you see, they'll be gone too. Too many things I gotta do. But if all of these dreams might find their way into my day-to-day scene, I'd be under the impression I was somewhere in between, with only two, just me and you. Not so many things we gotta do, places we got to be. We sit beneath the mango tree now. Yeah, so much better when we're together. We're somewhere in between together. Yeah, so much better when we're together. Yeah, so much better when we're together. I believe in memories, they look so pretty when I sleep. Yeah, now when I wake up, you look so pretty, sleeping next to me. But there's not enough time.
You're a good sport, Len.
There is no song I could sing, and there is no combination of words I could say, but I will still tell you one thing, we're better together. So much better when we're together. So much better when we're together. Take care, everybody. Hello.
That was Jack Johnson and friends. Better together. This is the 420 Radio Show. We're live here at 420radio.ca. Jack, before I forget, I gotta ask you a question. They recently have pulled delivery and pickup, like curbside pickup. That doesn't seem, even though I'm really not a supporter of this whole legal thing. That doesn't seem fair to me to allow citizens to open up a business and have a really rocky start and then find a way that it just might help thrive with delivery, especially, and to just pluck that away. Is that not okay?
Well, it sucks, certainly, and I'm involved in some active lobbying and fighting to have that changed. I'm very hopeful that it will be changed, but what's even worse is that same curbside pickup and delivery option, which is quite sensible for businesses operating, especially right now. They're now offering it, so bars can do it. So bars can sell alcohol that way now, but cannabis stores are back to in-store only with delivery functioning just through the Ontario Cannabis Store and its warehouse. So it's quite a so I hear your frustration. I feel the same way, and many of my clients feel the same way. I'm going after them, but it remains to be seen what happens with it. I'm hopeful that they come to their senses, but
we had conversations about legal stores and stuff recently, and this happens, and for me, that's a real deterrent because I'd like to offer a drive-through. I'd like to offer a delivery service. I know that I would focus primarily on the medical community because that's just where I am, and I know that it's needed, and the stores are not doing that. The legacy dispensaries are still, that. It's a sad predicament. It's
brutal.
You hear Canada is flourishing in cannabis. Come on up here. We'll show you how flourishing. Did you have anything that you want? As we found at the beginning of the show, Kurt and Jack have actually been chat buddies for a while. Is there?
I've been like a fanboy since I think like 2009 or something.
You're reminding me how long I've been doing this.
You're like 2005. I think your first articles were coming out. Maybe.
I think the first one was 03, like late 03, and then 04 it kind of went. Yeah, so
I love it.
Yeah.
We're gonna
My
watch.
kids were not quite as expensive back then. They're in college now, so.
We're all a little older. I've been doing this for 12 years.
Yeah.
So what did Kurt, as the token American left here in the show, what did he think of that lovely senator?
I think it was very informative. He dropped some science on me with respect to how Pennsylvania is approaching it. And I was happy to hear that there was some constructive logic, for lack of a better label, for their 17.5% tax. Now, maybe it's just because I'm such an arduous consumer, but I would rather see tax rates in the 8 to 12% range, even though I don't have a lot of really solid think tank data and metrics behind that statement. But now, granted, California at 35 and some jurisdictions being over 40% tax, where you think, okay, on the underground, and the legal markets have to steal the business from the underground. We know that's the way it works, right? Those are established channels on the underground, and the legal markets are necessarily stealing the business. They do create some new business from consumers who would never engage if it's not legal, right? They're just not going to frame themselves as criminals. But gosh, I just wonder if a 17.5% compared to a zero, right? I'm like, okay, I buy $100 worth of cannabis, and on the underground it cost me $100. And through that system, I got to pull another 20 spot American out of my pocket. And
as Canadians, 15% is kind of on par every day. At least East Coast Canadians.
I just got $100 ounce in Alderville on the reservation at First Nations.
But
And
it's more than 15% because
It's the duty. I know. But
there's the duty on there first and then the 15%. So we're getting taxed on the tax.
yeah.
But
What's your total tax rate? It depends on province, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But Lenny, to throw a question to you,
Yeah.
do you think that the 5% tax would be acceptable in Canada for medical?
I think, well, again, don't forget, I don't know U.S. data. Like, I don't know if there's tax on a prescription in the U.S. Canada is very anti-medicine tax anything. 5% is pretty minuscule. So if it was some, like, that's pretty tiny surcharge. I could live with that. I did like it was very distinct from the adult use. So is that the new term? I'm not allowed to call it rec anymore. It's adult use.
Yeah, adult use is the new term.
All right,
that
I'll
they want
fucking stop
writers
calling
to
it rec.
use, Yeah.
Anyway, but I like he's trying to give some sort of action to maintain medical. I like that.
Yeah.
It's, again, is he perfect? No, but I think he would admit that. So he was a good fellow. I liked him.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know how medications are taxed or used in the U.S. I don't know if they are tax exempt.
I'll go find out.
What did you think of him, Kurt? I mean, you're in the States and not in the same state, but you know.
Well, I grew up and lived a large part of my adult life in Ohio, adjacent west of Pennsylvania. My daughter is in college in Pennsylvania, so I do feel kind of an attachment to the state, and like I got a pound of flesh in the game, so to speak. I thought he was quite reasonable.
Yeah.
I'm not going to applaud his or criticize his political party. I try to, stay with the science and stay away from that. But I like that when we asked him hard questions, he had reasonable logic and sometimes even metrics and data behind that, right? I know politics is politics, but when we make, right now in the States, let's not even get into this, but we have certain people in Washington, D.C. basically saying science doesn't frickin' matter. As a technical writer, that disturbs me.
Wow.
So he brought science to the table. He's a good guy.
Prescriptions aren't taxed in the U.S.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
As I said, you know what? You got to start somewhere. I don't know why the governments don't try to treat themselves as a little bit more corporate. So if I came out with a product, say 55.98 for a product, where did I pull up that number, guys?
Yeah.
And it was a little too, and it was a little too high. I would probably bring my price down.
I just caught that, Lenny.
I know. I would bring that price down. So I don't know why the governments, like, I would have started out probably a 5 or 10% tax. See, like Kurt said, like, the black market is who you're trying to take from. So you got to be competitive. I would rather sell a whole lot of cannabis at a low rate and get all that tax dollars and then reevaluate it yearly. It's like, you know what? I think I can throw it up a couple more %. Almost like they did with cigarettes years ago.
Right, yeah.
Right.
But it just seems like they want to come out with a fucking massive shotgun tax, and you're still leaving 75-80% of the business on the table. So I just don't really get the logic.
Yeah,
Well,
like
see,
in California.
at 55.98, on the black market.
I shouldn't have opened that can of worms. Sorry.
Right, but on the black market, that 55.98 is actually $20.
Yes, exactly. And I get it's got to be a little higher than the black market. Even a bootlegger of cigarettes or alcohol, obviously it's cheaper. But there's a balance, and I think it was the senator that kind of said there is something for safety and convenience. You're not going to get a 60-year-old. Like, never got pot under a bridge, but I know what he was getting at.
Yeah, that's the politician, right? The politician
Yeah.
who's under the stairs in the dark stairwell or under
Yes,
the bridge.
but there is people that believe that, and even I'll say it. Our CEO, like, he's black market history, and his whole thing, if the price is close enough, and I know I can get off at 5 o'clock or run to a dispensary or a liquor commission, grab my 3.5, and go home and pay maybe an extra $5. That's a lot easier than me calling my guy. What time can I come over?
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
like I said, Leonard, yesterday I was at the reservation. I was in Alderville, and we went in, and a lot of, well, you know this, Mary Jane, because you're up in that area. There's the Green Mile. They call it the Green Mile. Have you been up there, Jack? Scramble for the phone.
Sorry, I've had files up there, so I'm very I of the Green Mile. I can't.
I know. I am a firm believer that I should be able to walk into a store, touch it, smell it, look at it, say, ask questions and stuff like that, and walk out and go home. I mean, and that's what you can do on the reservation here in Ontario.
Yeah.
Now, how legal is that for me to do that, Jack? I don't want to hear the answer, but
So, well, there's my position is that the legality of it is far grayer than government would have people believe.
Mhm.
But on a strict reading of the law, it's prohibited, particularly as I suspect you were purchasing it for medical purposes. And that's part of the issue that I was speaking about earlier, right, is that sections 144 and 150 of Part 14 of the cannabis regulations specifically prohibit a medical cannabis patient from directly in person accessing their medical cannabis. So it's really frustrating. Now that was directly challenged and in a somewhat roundabout way, arguably struck down by the Alberta Court of Queen's Bench in the Howell decision, but ultimately the law changed, right? That's the ACMPRs, not Part 14 of the regs now. So the short answer, Al, is that technically it was unlawful, and that because it was unlawful, it would be considered illicit cannabis, and so even the possession would be unlawful. Now, proving that is the Crown's onus. So my position is that it's not possible to prove that cannabis, whether it was grown pursuant to a license or it wasn't grown pursuant to a license. My position is genetically or botanically, it's not an identifiable distinction between them, and thus the law is not valid. But the short answer is that technically you're not allowed to do that. So the sale to you was unlawful, which is, according to the government, a far more serious offense. For you, it's simple possession of it. So you how much did you purchase?
Ounces?
Sorry.
Couple ounces? That's okay. The wife calls. You have to go.
Sorry. So ultimately, technically, the possession would be unlawful. Now, it's the defense is so strong that it's likely not prosecutable, in my opinion. But certainly, I've had lots of cases where they tried, and so.
Aside from them seeing me physically walk out of one of these stores with it in my hand, they wouldn't know where it's coming. I could have grown it.
Correct. Now you would only lawfully be entitled to possess 30 grams of it, whereas you say you had 60. So you had too much.
Oh no, but I'm medical, so then that I don't get the 150.
That's correct. Good. So if you were medical, then you'd be lawfully. Yeah, so you'd be lawfully entitled to 150 grams plus 30 grams of recreational.
Like 190, really.
180.
It's 180.
Wow.
Math wasn't a strong suit.
Not.
Could you argue that, Jack? Math was my strong suit.
I've tried that before. Yeah.
Did it work?
Sort of. Sort of. and on so you know, an honest but mistaken belief is that's a mistake of fact, and that's a winnable defense, and I have one on that. But it has to be reasonably honest but mistaken. So, to give you an example, there's a case with someone with a license for 1,700 plants, and they had maybe 17,000. That's not necessarily an honest but mistaken belief. But someone with a license for 40 grams and they have 41, or a reasonable error, that's a triable defense that a jury would be entitled to acquit you on that.
But let's
I've done that.
Let's be honest here, Jack. Okay. In reality, the only way that's going to happen is if you're doing something stupid. Right?
Well, no, I don't agree. Mistakes happen all of the time, and you're certainly not going to get me on video saying that.
No. What
a valid defense is not a valid defense.
What I'm getting at, if you're speeding down the highway and you've got 2 ounces in your car, that's a stupid thing to do, because if you get pulled over and they find it, you're going to lose it. You're going to get charged. You're going to get, you're going to go through the whole gambit of things.
Only break one law at a time, right?
That's right.
It's always a good rule of thumb.
That's what we say in the States.
Yeah, I think I heard an American lawyer told me one time, good advice is don't break the law when you're breaking the law.
Right.
But ultimately, certainly if you have cannabis in your vehicle in Canada, regardless of province, and some provinces are worse than others based on the provincial regs, it has to live in your trunk. It should not be readily available. It is just so easy for police to charge you for readily accessible cannabis products. And it gives them grounds just to go through your entire vehicle. And whether you have something illegal that they might find or not, the invasion of your privacy is so offensive to any rational sense of liberty. So
And
don't do it.
Don't put it in your glove box, lockable or not, because I've had a friend, I won't say who, her and another friend were getting on the highway in Hamilton and got pulled over, and they could smell it, asked if there was cannabis in the car. The friend who was not driving said, yes, I have some. There was no argument, just a statement by the officer. Please put that where the driver can't get at it. It's illegal for you to have it in the car next to her. And they let her go. Okay? She got a friendly warning. That's not going to happen very often. Okay?
No.
Live in the trunk.
Trunk's a good rule.
Trunk's a good rule, but trunk's a good rule especially for us, because when we come out of work, we smell like pot.
I fucking always stink of weed.
I take my bag, my recyclable bag from cafe, and I zip up my weed in there, and I put it in my secret compartment in my trunk. I can't access it. The dog could. She can have it if she likes, I guess. But,
Listen, I'm dreading the next fucking roadblock I ever hit, because I'm going to get searched so fucking bad.
Are you known for working in the industry there, Len?
What's that?
Are you guys known for working in the industry there?
It's no secret what I do in Truro. I know quite a few of the police officers. Not all of them. They have their duty. They're going to smell it on me when I get pulled over, so they're going to ask if I have any. They'll probably ask to search my vehicle. I'm going to have to let them. I do on occasion, obviously, have it in my trunk, and I'll be okay.
I honestly think we should be given cards.
Everybody,
that we work for a licensed producer, so of course we're going to smell like cannabis.
Has that ever been on the table, Jack?
Yeah, I've litigated it extensively. It's John Conroy has a really hard-fought case in BC, but the BC Court of Appeal is not supportive of the odor So odor is a justification for entry to a vehicle. It shouldn't be, and that I'm actively trying to beat that because I don't consider it specifically for. I should get an affidavit from Leonard and Marcel on that issue, saying we work at a legal LP and our workplace smells like cannabis because that's what we do for a living, and that I'm neither impaired nor am I in possession of it, but my vehicle reeks of cannabis because I'm inside of it. And I've had that file. Now, the problem is that my client then had a huge amount of cannabis in his vehicle. So but at the same time, the police officer didn't know that. So.
How strict are they down where you are, Kurt?
Not, but it's like we're saying here, wrong place, wrong time. I don't think it matters which of the 50 states you're in. If you get pulled over for some other infraction, failure to use signal or speeding, whatever, and your car just reeks, you just smoked a joint or you got a pound in the back seat or whatever. You might get the shakedown, and it might not be a pretty outcome, even in legal states here.
Yeah, well, it come on now. Does anybody know the worldwide percentage of people who are actually, medical or not, using cannabis? Is there any stats like that?
I've seen some numbers, but I always ask myself, how
do you know?
Such a rough estimate. Now we have some intelligent ways of estimating things statistically and, gathering data like in research, but boy, that's got to be a really fuzzy number.
Wouldn't
I'm asking Google.
Yeah, Marcel likes to Google. Do you know of any like that, Jack? Jack's not muted.
Well, I think your data is always going to be lower than what the reality is. Like I know some cannabis users that still do it in the closet. It's fucking illegal.
Yeah.
I would totally agree. Totally.
Like it's weird.
Even in legal states, Nevada's fully legal, and there are people here who just will not admit it. But sometimes that makes sense if your neighbors are really conservative or evangelical or otherwise culturally opposed. Yeah, you don't want to stir the pot. So you're like, I'm just going to kind of keep that on the DL. So,
I love where I live. Okay. My building always smells like weed or something. Okay. And there's 60 units and there's probably 20 of us in the building. So, and recently, some people have moved out, and funny enough, 3 of them had grow ops in another room. So, I see it on the balconies when I'm outside. And this is just one building in Toronto.
Nice.
Jack, are you getting an influx of tenants being kicked out or being threatened because of cannabis now? Even though
there's a lot of people dealing with odor issues in condominiums, and there are some powers held by condominium corporations that are problematic for medical cannabis patients. So I do get my share of those files, and it's often a fairly delicate path towards making sure they don't lose their housing, which is always a really serious concern. So yeah, odor as an issue is one that's going to be sort of, it's been kind of an issue that I've been fighting around on a number of cases. So, yeah.
I have numbers.
Yep, he has numbers. Oh, cool. Wait, 1 sec. I got.
Right on. I've got numbers. So a study that was done in 2007 under the United Nations World Drug Report, 2017. Sorry, not 2007. 2017. Approximately 182,999,999 people use cannabis. But that number could be as high as 238 million people worldwide, which is nearly double the population of Mexico. And the reason for that is there's still so many people that won't admit to using cannabis that use it. So they're doing an estimate. So 238 million people worldwide. It's the most widely used drug in the world.
Well, I'll even just say anecdotally, like I live in a pretty normal conservative subdivision. You guys, Marcel and Darcy, have seen where I live. I've been here 20 years, so a lot of the little children that used to be locally around me are now 20, 21, 22. They all use cannabis. They drink a little, but I visit their neighbors and their parents, and there's bongs out in the back fucking porch.
Not beer cans anymore. It's
No, they're all using cannabis.
Yeah.
Which I think is fantastic, to be honest. Yeah, you can do the whole 25 age whatever bullshit, but whatever. I still think it's healthier than alcohol.
Well, yeah, and it also a lot less property damage by kids using cannabis than there is by kids using alcohol.
Honestly, there's no raving parties around my subdivision with alcohol, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I miss those, though.
What's that?
I mean,
I miss those.
Well, I used to be that guy 15 years ago.
Yeah.
With alcohol, and I've gotten away from it.
I had a Long Island iced tea when my sister and I went to the steakhouse last time, just because. And it went right to my head. I came home, threw up, and went to bed. That's the last time I drank.
I pretty much might have a beer a week after I beat Drew at golf on Thursdays.
Does he buy it for you, Lenny?
No, I buy it. Just celebrate my victory.
Make him buy it. You should make him buy it because he lost. Sorry, Drew.
So you beat him. You beat him
I'd
this
go
Thursday,
broke,
didn't ya?
man.
I'm broke.
If I had to buy him beer every time he beat me,
Who's got more money,
golf, man?
or Len? What you doing, Mary Jane, over there? Let's see what Mary Jane's doing. I have to make the video bigger. There we go. So if you need stuff made for your wedding, call Mary Jane.
These are actually matching roach clips because I figured all the ladies are gonna have their nails done up, so to match all of the beaded jewelry.
Somebody should come up with a set of fake nails that work just like a roach clip.
There you go.
Awesome. I don't do nails.
All the festivals and stuff, all the nails be fancy roach clips on them. Pretty cool.
I feel like if anybody would have thought of that, it'd be Amy Anonymous. By now, she would have had that figured out.
Yes, Amy would have done that. Darcy?
Al?
Do you have anything grow-worthy ready for us, or did you not put something together because of Dale and
I didn't put something together, but I do want to talk about something though.
But wait, what did I tell you, Darcy?
Let me feed.
Be prepared because I was going to make you do a grow segment regardless.
I have.
Yeah. Remember what I said, Marcel?
I don't care.
There's Darcy. All right, here we go. Spotlight.
No, I just want to talk about security, Al.
Okay, go for it, buddy.
It's getting that time. Well, first off is your plants now are at that time of the year where your outdoors are starting to sex. So all you people out there, keep an eye on your plants. Make sure you pull your mail so you don't piss your neighbor off.
Make sure nobody's stealing your plants right next door to your window.
Yeah, no. So that's what's going to lead me into my second conversation, which was security, which is a very important thing because just because everyone's allowed to grow it doesn't mean everyone wants to grow it. There is still lazy people out there that would rather you do all the work and then they just reap your benefits. So,
and drunk teenagers, don't forget drunk teenagers.
Yes, and drunk teenagers, as Marcel knows. So I just wanted to let everybody know that security is a big issue. So whether it's trail cameras, whether it's security cameras, whether it's little triple alarms that set off a little siren, these are all important things to consider right now, especially if you're growing outdoors. And signage is also another key. Put lots of signage up so people know that you have stuff on their property. So that way, if they do walk on, well, then they're taking their life into their own risk, I guess.
How?
So,
Hey, Jack.
Yes.
How? Since we're talking about growing, real quick. Sorry, Darce. Are things getting bad with that? With being able to grow 4 plants as opposed to being? I'm a medical patient. Are there complaints coming out of the woodwork about people growing pot in their backyard now?
I haven't experienced very many. So the main issue, I think, number one is access to genetics is
pretty controlled.
It's so controlled. So I think a lot of people that would like to grow a couple plants can't get seeds to start. So a lot of those issues remain. It's also it's harder than people realize to grow cannabis. So I think a lot of people, they spend a significant amount of money for legal seeds, and then they can't get them to germinate or whatever. So it's not. So they need advice from Darcy maybe to get it rolling. Certainly, I had I had a client advising me that he what was it? So you're only allowed 4 in a household. And I'm not going to tell that story. It's very silly. So anyway, but the main thing is no, the sky hasn't fallen in regards to more people growing it in their backyards. I think largely people are getting the seeds through the gray market if they are actually getting lawful access to seeds, and most of it's lowrider crosses that are feminized. So they're small plants that they're not growing,
there must have been
monsters.
And some kind of an influx a little bit because the police were getting called. Anyways, Darcy, go ahead and finish.
Just so before I finish there, I just wanted to agree with something that Jack said there. You are right. A lot of people are acquiring their seeds from that gray market, if you wanted to call it that, because there's so many seed companies and seed banks online that'll mail you seeds, and a lot in Canada that'll mail you seeds for that matter. But it's funny because a lot of them are autoflowers, and people have no clue what an autoflower is. So they're planting these seeds, and 30 days later, it's still only as tall as a pickle bottle, and what the hell? It's starting to bud already. And I've had multiple conversations with people about that, and multiple messages. What was that?
I said, it's like, yeah, well, hey, man, what's going on, Darcy? My plants are weird, man.
Well, it is, and I explain it to them that they have an autoflower, and they ask what an autoflower is, and I tell them it's a plant that has a set time to finish, so it doesn't matter with a life cycle, whether or not it's 12 hours or 24 hours. That plant's going to, mind you, lean more towards 24 hours if you want to get a maximum potency and quality out of that. But still, regardless,
you just leave your lights on with autoflowers.
20 and 4 is the best cycle.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So really, they're not cost efficient if you really want to think about it.
Well, no, your lights are on more.
Right?
That sounds like they're less environmental. I didn't realize that.
Well, but if you're a person that lives in a colder climate, they're awesome because you only get one growth cycle outdoors.
Okay.
So they work awesome. But if you're an indoor grower and you have a big veg room and you have some space over in the corner, sure, throw a few autoflowers over in there because your lights are on 18.6, so they'll still get to a really nice size and you'll still get some nice bud out of them. But if you were to take them and throw them into a 12-hole cycle, I find most autoflowers, from personal experience, they don't get very tall. 12 inches, 14 inches at max, and you're lucky to get 10 grams of bud off them.
What's the average weight off of an autoflower? I've got
ounce.
I've got seeds. They're called quarter pounders, and it says that you will get a quarter pound off of each plant.
And
it's an autoflower? And it's a 90-day autoflower?
That I don't know. Is just an autoflower feminized. There's 2 or 3 seeds.
So then
It was
you can get into
a personal thing at one of the events that I went to.
So then you can get into another whole thing of why Marcel was asking you why it was 90 days, because anything from 90 to 120, 130 days is what they call a super auto. So they're taking a lot of your haze strains.
Get them, sorry.
Yeah. So what they're doing now is they're taking a lot of your haze strains, your long flowering strains, 14, 18, 20 weeks, and they're crossing autoflowers into them and bringing the finishing time down, so that way these people can still enjoy these strains.
Okay, I got one more question for you, Darcy, and then I want to let Jack talk about his mushroom book before we go. Okay.
Yeah, I want Jack to send me his mushroom book before we go. I'm still waiting, Jack. I check my mail every day and it's not there.
Oh my goodness. I'm waiting for copies. I am trying to do it, I promise.
I just want Jack to send me mushrooms. I don't care about the book.
Oh my goodness.
Darcy, I'm sorry.
What's that, Al?
I forgot what I was going to ask you.
Anyways, very quick, I just want to finish off very quick there and say security is an important thing. So people, if you don't want to go out and spend the money monthly to get a security system set up in your yard, there is a lot of options out there online with outdoor security cameras. I purchased a few this week and have my yard all cameraed up already.
Some of it's wireless now, right?
They are wireless, so
that's very convenient for people.
And they're so small that they're only as big as a pack of cigarettes.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
but the problem with wireless is they make it pretty easy for them to steal them.
Never thought of that.
Yeah, so you lose your camera. You still have the footage of them stealing it, which is always nice. But
yeah, so there's lots of options out there for security cameras. So do your research. So that's all I wanted to say on that one. And one quick question to Jack there was before he starts his mushroom talk about his book was if you have an SUV, Jack, and you have how SUVs are open for the trunk, and your cannabis is in the trunk, and it's obviously your car's still going to stink because it's open. Have you had any issues with that yet?
That's a really good question, Dorsey. It's a super live issue. I haven't litigated that. I mentioned an odor case from BC where my client, the odor existed, and my client had a good reason for the odor. It's just that in addition, there was lots of cannabis there as well, which caused an issue. But in a situation you're describing, technically you don't have a trunk in an SUV. So what do you do with that? It's a huge headache. What I say to clients is that, there's the letter of the law and there's the spirit of the law. So here you cannot comply with the letter of the law because you don't have a trunk, but you can comply with the spirit of the law. And the way you do that is you say, look, I'm in a great big vehicle. It's not readily available to me. So I'm going to put it in a super sealed container, preferably locked if possible. And it's going to be in the absolute back part of the SUV. Yeah, like that, and stored in a secure way. And frequently what I'll say to clients is that the police should have to do a deep, intense search to find it, because the deeper they're digging and looking and not finding anything, the more of an argument I have that the search is unlawful. But ultimately, the situation you're describing, compliance with the letter of the law is not possible. And, laws have to be flexible. An SUV doesn't have a trunk. So how could the cannabis live there? But what I say is put it in the back. I told one client, I said, is there a wheel well, like where your spare tire is? He said, yeah. I said, put it in there.
I
Seal it up.
I have an SUV, Jack. And in the very back, where my tow hitch and my tire stuff and all that are, there's enough room that I can put with my cannabis in there, zipped up. I literally could not. There's no way I could get it. There's no way I could touch it.
I love it. That's good.
No. So that's when somebody says, "Hey Al, I'm getting kind of worried. I'm going to get my weed, and I come home even from a legal cannabis store." I used to have. We've had this conversation years ago, Jack. Living up in Mount Forest area, I would come down once or twice a month, get a quarter pound, and then go home, like scared shitless, because that's a 3.5 hour drive. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
So, just as an added hint, though, if you smoke oil and hash and use tobacco as the burning element, it doesn't smell in your car. So,
Well, I can't.
other than smell of
comment on
tobacco.
You know I can't.
I know you can't, but I can.
It's just saying.
Just saying.
Not advocating, just saying.
I'm just saying this is just physics and how shit works. If it doesn't smell like cannabis, then they don't know it's there.
Same as the stupid vape pens.
Yeah.
I think if anybody is going to call Jack with a case, it's probably going to be me, because this is how I keep my cannabis in this nice little box. And I generally, it's an ammo box, so it's first door. It comes with a lock. I'll keep a lock on it. But I also have an SUV, and all my back seats are mostly folded down. So I put the up inside. Well, today I had my cannabis box in the very, very back, but I also had a cooler back there. So when I took a corner, the cooler pushed the box all the way up.
Oh my goodness.
Feet.
Yeah.
So when I stopped, I looked, and I would have been able to reach back and grab the box, but it was locked.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. If anyone's going to call you, it's probably going to be me.
Well, I think you've got about the strongest defense I've heard, Mary Jane. So that nothing makes me happier than knowing someone's really concerned about compliance like that. So that's very good. But I don't think you're going to go down on that one, but you should, make efforts that the locked box is in the trunk area. But you're not going to get a criminal conviction for an accident, right? So,
okay,
that's good.
I love you, Jack.
Cover your ass.
So Jack, tell us about. We've got 10 minutes. Tell us about your new book and when people can get it, what it's about, and blah blah blah.
So the new book is the Psilocybin Chef Cookbook, which we're really excited about, and so it's essentially following from the Psilocybin Mushroom Bible that we released in 2016. So that book was the first new book about psilocybin mushrooms, I think in 15 years since the last one was published. So we were overdue and sort of focused on some revolutions that had happened in the mycology community, in which new cultivation techniques had sort of emerged. So my authors, one did a great book with like over 1,000 photos detailing every step in the process to do this. It's a wonderful title. And so they did that. And I kept saying, you should do a cookbook. And they did a cookbook. It's really cool. So it's beautiful, 6x9, so wonderful size, tons of photos, step-by-step instructions, and extraction methods for psilocybin mushrooms. So it's a pretty great title. I'm excited about it, and I'm hopeful that it's going to be, I think, the only psilocybin cookbook on the market. So that's pretty exciting. And
You got
I
a
hope that.
hold up? Have you got that copy you can hold up?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, the copy you were supposed to send me, right?
Nice.
Uh,
Look.
I'm looking forward to it, Jack, because
Yeah.
I'm microdosing these days, so
So it's a really fun title. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
And then we'll
well written and well photographed.
Then one of these days we'll explain how people can just go out and find them in the wild.
Yes. Yeah,
when, and which fields to look in.
I worked on a farm in Scotland, and they used to grow in the fields there. So I remember being however old, it was a long time ago, but walking. So I was supposed to be building a fence, and they kept saying, "What are you doing in the field, walking along, staring at the ground all day?" And of course, I was looking for fairy rings.
They grow everywhere. Wherever there's shit, they'll grow.
So when is and where can people get it when it's available for pre-order, right?
Yeah, so I'm encouraging folks to pre-order the title through Amazon or through Barnes and Noble, Chapters, or all good bookstores, head shops in America, Canada, and the United Kingdom. So in the UK and Europe, it's available through Turnaround Publisher Services, turnaround-uk.com. In Canada, it's available from Chapters Indigo. Raincoast is distributing it, as well as Ingram. And for head shops, you can access through BOBHQ, who's my head shop distributor in Canada. And then in the United States, it's available through PGW, which is now Ingram. And the Instagram page is a great place to ask for if you're seeking wholesale orders, but I do have a wholesaler, but Ingram satisfies most of the orders, but vast majority will go through Amazon or Barnes & Noble. It's coming out in September 2020, but pre-orders are hugely appreciated because Amazon orders 3 times the number of pre-orders, so it's always nice after we pay that printing bill. We can sell a couple copies out the gate. So yeah, so very excited. So I would love to
Marcel,
get,
you cheap bastard, buy one. There's bills to pay.
No, I was hoping to have the book. I was hoping to have the book to review the book before.
Oh, you still buy one?
Oh, I'd still buy one.
All right, send it to him, Jack.
I'm trying. I have one copy that because the other copies are there was only 2, so I have one of them, so I'm not allowed to send it anywhere yet. So I am trying, Marcel.
All right.
Send me some information, and I'm going to put a picture of the book, and I'll put it up on the website because
that's so cool.
I enjoy support.
I'll send it to you. That's awesome, man. Thank you.
Jack sent me the Grow Bible, and I reviewed that for the show.
Yep.
And I ended up giving it away and buying my own.
There you go.
So I'll probably do the same thing with this one.
Cool.
You send me the book to review, I'll pass it on to somebody who can't afford it, and I'll buy my own.
Look at Kurt frothing. Me.
Yeah. I was just going to tell Jack if he posts to Twitter, I'll certainly share with my followers. It sounds like good stuff. Really sexy design on the book. Looks really nice.
Oh, thanks, man. That means a lot. Thanks, man.
I got a shelf right here that I would love to fill up with Green Candy Press books, Jack.
I love it.
Well, you know where to order them.
I just want to get Marcel's cooked mushroom, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll buy Marcel the book. There's the deal.
I love it.
Have you had any fun with edibles yet, Jack? Or
so I'm not allowed to. They'll punch my ticket.
Let's skip that. We'll say, tell people where they can find you, Jack, if they need any help legally.
So I'm kind of a terrible marketer for my professional. So it used to be I would just tell them to go to tusawlaw.ca, which is the law firm I work for. But now I don't have a website, but you can find me on Twitter. Twitter, I'm just at Jack Lloyd Lawyer, and I think that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
If you guys, if you are in need of a lawyer, seriously, I can put you in touch. Just hit me up on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. Jack, always a pleasure having you. And Kurt, thank you for being a new addition. I hope that you will do this more often, buddy.
Thanks for having me back. I always learn something, Al, so appreciate it.
I learn something every fucking day. How can you not? Mary Jane, how are you doing over there?
I'm good. I'm working on some road clips.
Cool.
Cool beans. All right. Lenny, always a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm just subtly doing a little promotion for next week. Try not to violate the Cannabis Act, just subtly changing my profile.
Thank you.
What was that, Lenny?
Just subtly changing my profile.
Darcy's got some too. That looks awesome.
What's right behind your head there? We can't see what that word is. Now we can't see it at all.
It's fucking backwards, but whatever.
Oh, secret cookies. Is it a really good secret?
Nice, you guys.
Not anymore.
There'll be a letter in your envelope tomorrow.
Oh, Lenny.
Yep.
There's the jar.
Back it up.
Yeah, I can't see
Put
it.
it
Like
in front of you. Put it in front of you. It needs light on it.
Oh, I'm not trying to shit on our fucking boys.
No. And there's the $16 joint.
A $16 joint. Wow.
Well, I know there's a $36.99 product at NSLC next week. That's probably not so bad.
We'll find out.
I think it's okay.
I think that we should call it.
My confidence is up and fairly strong.
Al, I really wish the planes were moving fast and I could ship you some overnight.
What do you got now, buddy?
No, some of our stuff so you could try it on the radio show next week.
Oh, you guys are getting ready, are you?
No, I guess I'm not subtle. I guess I've been too subtle, Al. Our products in Nova Scotia on Tuesday.
Awesome, buddy. So you guys, is the website going live and everything?
The website, it's more of an issue with our billing and delivery issues, so no.
Yeah.
But actual adult use in Nova Scotia starts Tuesday.
What's adult use crap? When did that kick in? I must have been
tonight.
You know what? I heard it the other day too. I don't know who else fucking said it too.
Jack, have they been punching that into your ticket too? Adult use to change the terminology?
No, that hasn't been a factor.
I've only heard it like twice in like the last 2 days from different. Maybe it's an American term.
I
think it might be more American because Canada we're pretty used to wrecked on rack.
They were on video this morning or yesterday morning when I was going out to Oshawa, and they were correcting themselves and saying no, we are calling it adult use now. So there must have been an article or somebody said, maybe Trump said something. I don't know.
I mean, you could call it a trend.
It was Canada, actually, Marcel. It was a sales. It was regarding NSLC and OCS. The term I heard. Yeah, so someone must have had a meeting somewhere and left us out.
A lot of the laws and the regulatory oversight here in the states at the state level and municipal level I would say the default, kind of the standard, is adult use, although it is totally correct that the previous reference was recreational, quote unquote.
Yeah, I to be honest, I kind of like adult use better now that you say it.
It takes a while to get used to it, but yeah, it just kind of becomes default after a while.
That sounds a
Because
little
to me, it's still. It may not be prescribed. Like I always like the term prescribed and unprescribed was what I was always a fan of, to be honest. Meaning you were getting medical direction versus non-medical direction.
Right.
But I can live with adult use.
My medicine's so good, people use it for recreational.
I don't like adult use. I find adult use, the comparison is child use or children use. Like, is that then?
Well, I think because that term doesn't exist, I think is the point.
It does now.
Not yet.
I'm going back to I like prescribed and unprescribed.
Prescribed and non-prescribed.
And I think the whole adult use goes back to your guest Dalen from Pennsylvania, where he spoke several times about regulations and proposed regulations in his state of Pennsylvania mirroring those of alcohol. And so I think that's kind of where the 21 standard comes from now that I stopped to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had some interesting things to say. And on that note, I want to thank Senator Dalen Leach for being here. It was certainly an interesting conversation, and I'm sure that
it was a pleasure.
Yeah. He was very enlightening the first time he was on the show. Jack, always a pleasure. Kurt, same to you, buddy.
Thanks again, man.
Guys, thank you for being here. The neighbor, Drew, thanks for joining us, Drew. See. Everybody on
We got him to talk.
He actually spoke.
Yeah.
He's not a mute.
He lives.
This is the 420 Radio Show. We're live here Friday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thanks for listening. And
Have a great weekend, guys.
Come back and see us.
So what are you doing? Nothing. Why not? Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website. Sounds like a cool website. Yeah, it's alright. Oh, I might have it. You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
So.
We're still in entertainment. Bring it on.
I've got a dewdrop to test.
yes.
To test out
So,
today.
You
And this is
showed that
made-
to us, but
this is
how does
made
it
by
work?
Dave.
Electric.
Dave, and I'm gonna mess up pronouncing his last name.
Pereras.
Pereras, correct.
Yeah.
Or Electric Dave on Instagram.
Yeah, and he's also the maker of the Happle.
Correct. And I've got that.
So
right
it's
here.
it's not Electric Dave though.
No, it's electric.
Electric. Electric.
Yeah,
So you know,
yeah, correct.
when you're looking for him.
ERRLECTRIC.
Electric. Electric.
So there you go. This is his dewdrop.
Hold on now. Here, hold on. There you go.
This is
Yeah.
the dewdrop. As you can see, it's nice and clean, and it's nice and clean because I have not used it yet.
Okay.
On the top of the stem, this is the piece where your hash will stick to.
Mhm.
You light your hash, you stick it in here, and
In the water?
Yeah, I've put
Hash goes in the water.
Yeah, no, it's
Well,
it's
no.
there's a glass enclosure.
Oh, okay. I see.
All right, and then
Here, let's make you bigger.
Nice.
Oh.
Wrong one.
Uh-oh. It's not going bigger than that. No. Okay, just go ahead, Al.
Okay, it's probably So there you go. It's hand blown. Dave does them all. And we've seen Dave at many events. Yeah. And so now
He's very, very well known in the community.
Correct.
And an amazing blower.
I've got some hash here. Now, what I have found, some hash will work really well, and some hash will melt.
Uh-oh.
And when it melts, it makes it a little harder for it to burn because it's melting. So,
Well, yeah, because it's also dripping.
correct. Exactly. So I got leaves falling on me.
Yeah, you know what? It's really weird here. It was green up until about 3 days ago, and now everything's starting to
Falling.
turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got some hash burning here.
Do you find you waste a lot with these toys?
No.
No.
Okay, just gotta make sure it's burning. Ah, it's not burning. Come on, hash. I should have maybe put some on here previously. Tested it out. But then I would have smoked it all. Yeah, I got her going.
I haven't had any hash in a while.
So I put it inside there. You can see it filling up with smoke. You just see it doing its thing. It sort of looks like our background.
Yeah.
Nice and smooth. Oh,
Wow,
yes.
nice.
Yes, I like this.
And you could flavor the water as well, eh?
Yeah, I imagine you could. Yeah.
Put a couple of droppings of some terpenes or something in there.
And it's very, very nice. Dave says it's got a new reinforced stem on it here. And I'll tell you, this lid, it's just glass on glass. I have to tilt that to clear the chamber. It seals that well. Yeah, it's got the little bubbler in the bottom. Fork holes. The handle for this has got some ridges on it, so it's not a completely smooth surface, so it's good to grip onto. And, the thing about smoking hash too is it goes forever.
And what's the price range on those? You could have just said you don't know. Al.
I don't. I don't know. I don't know. Now I can tell you, the apple that I've got, the apple here.
Yeah.
I purchased it at Spirit Leaf in Campbellford, and it's a smaller version. I gotta clean it. This was $55, but it depends on the store, right?
Yes.
But if anybody's interested in one of these,
you can buy direct from Dave.
Correct. Yeah. Check your store, your local store, if you see if they've got one. Oh, stuff.
I was checking out another store. It says it's $55 too.
Pardon me?
I was just checking out a couple other stores. They're $55 too.
$55.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, it's coined one of the best hash pipes in Canada.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
no wonder Nugs was like, we want to brand it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, you got a little cough on me, but
yeah, but that's a concentrate for me.
That's right. Exactly.
Any concentrate can make
nice,
it hack.
Nice and it pulls nicely. It's easy to hold on to. And then it'll be easy to clean. Just like the apple will be easy to clean as well.
I put my student glass, I take it apart and put it in the dishwasher on the top.
Well, there you go. I don't know if I'd put that in the dishwasher, but
yeah, it might be a little too thin.
Yeah, but it's good stuff. So you can check out Dave's Instagram at Electric Dave, ERRLECTERIC Dave. Should have probably pulled him up on Instagram. And here is his page right here. There we go. Electric Dave. Some of his posts of his stuff. Oh, look at that. He's put an e-nail on it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I was wondering if the top had a different feature because it looks different.
Wow. That is cool. I might be able to do that. I might be able to do that.
You know what? I enjoy I use the student glass more as a bong than I don't even have water in it at the moment.
No, you just use it dry.
Just use it dry with the module as my vaporizer, and throw some shatter in there or some diamonds. I've got 1 scoop of diamonds left. Yeah,
right.
It's my movie watching bong. I don't own a bong. That's the only thing. I use my shatterizer and my student glass.
Now here it is with a banger on it. Is that a banger on the front of it there?
Yeah, that's. I was wondering because the way the thing, it just looks different.
Yeah.
Here, let's make it
Yeah.
big, Al. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
There you go. Yeah.
That's cool.
funny. I've got like 6 bongs and I don't use any of them. Oh, 7, 8 bongs.
Now he's got.
I've got a glass one, a raw one up there on the shelf, but I don't use it.
See, he's got a bowl on it.
Yeah,
there.
he basically made it like an it's
your
an
big one at all,
everything.
Al?
Yeah.
That's gonna smoke everything. Flour, concentrates.
Yeah, you can see he's changing it out, eh?
Yeah.
The drop.
You're a genius.
Yeah, he did.
Fucking brilliant. I wondered because as soon as I seen that, I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, I've seen the hash kettle for years, but you look at the hash kettle prices, holy fucking shit. You could buy like 6 or 7 of the Happles.
Yeah.
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 Why would you buy that other thing?
Steven, fuck off.
There he is. Okay, yeah.
That's the e-nail.
With the e-nail on it. Yep,
Oh.
carb. Nice. Nice job, Dave.
Just beauty.
Yeah.
Very
Check out his Instagram. Check out his products. No doubt about that. It looks like it's multifunctional.
So that's the dewdrop.
Yeah.
Dewdrop.
Yeah.
How many dews does a dewdrop drop if a dewdrop could drop dew?
I don't know. We'll have to ask Dave.
You should post that in our chat. Post a link to his Instagram in the chat here in the comments.
Yeah,
Oh.
but I think. Oh, hang on.
Yeah. How much dew would a dewdrop drop if a dewdrop
Okay.
could drop dew?
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just repeating to see if I could say.
How
seashells
much
by the
hash
seashore.
how much hash could a Apple hash if a Apple hash could Apple hash?
If a hash could happle, or if a happle could hash.
Sound drunk. Yeah.
Do you remember the days when the chant was so loud it would echo off the buildings?
Oh my God, you couldn't see the street.
Oh, yeah, side to side, sidewalk to sidewalk. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I I have a simple question for you. I'm asking everybody as we go along here. Why do you march?
I march because just because cannabis is legal here doesn't mean it is in other parts of the world. People are jailed for this everywhere. Yeah. And even with legalization, there's still charged. There's still a legal system that's attached to this. Like legalize we can have 28 grams of cannabis. It's a little crazy. And there's people suffering around the world, jailed, facing death sentences for cannabis.
A year ago, there was a couple of guys in Singapore that got hung.
That exactly.
I think
so
there's
this is why we
somebody
do
else
this.
waiting to be
Our
hung as
crowd's
well.
a bit smaller than it has been in other years, but the message is still the same, and it will still be the same until cannabis is legalized and it's legal and accepted.
Exactly.
Stigma needs to be removed as well, right? So
Exactly.
we're working on that. I mean, we're 5 years here legalization, and it's still, stigma's still attached.
Exactly.
So it's not going to be a quick fix, but we keep this up and we keep normalizing it.
It's like 90 years of prohibition. That ain't going away.
Exactly. And we think it's just because now we have stores everywhere. It's just going to be, hoity-toity and fun and it's not. People still have are still, brainwashed. The reefer madness, that generation is still around. So,
Yeah, exactly.
And their kids. So we just need to change the way cannabis is viewed. And again, not just here globally. This is a global march. This isn't just in Toronto. This is just Toronto's section of this global march.
Yeah, exactly.
So we just need to, keep fighting the good fight.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a big one going on in New York right now too.
Al says there's one going on in New York right now.
I love it. Well, it is global, right, guys?
That's right, global. All right. Oh, we got a poll there. All right, thanks, Amy.
Take a poll.
Hey, my name is Al Graham, and you're with People Advocating Cannabis Education. PACE is about promoting the benefits of cannabis, which we do through educational documentaries or through public events. Today we're at the Carpe Diem Cafe in Peterborough, and I'd like to introduce to you Russell Barth and Christina Lowe, the cannabis advocates from Ottawa, and they'll talk to us about what they're doing to help legalize cannabis around the world. Hello, Russell and Christine. How are you?
We're doing good.
Well, thanks.
Hi, everybody.
What I usually like to do when I get started on these interviews is ask you a question as far as, what do you do as far as hobbies or any education that you may have, just to give a bit of an idea so people know a little bit about you.
Well, I didn't quite finish high school. And then at the age of 25, I guess it was, 24, I started attending fine arts college in St. Lawrence College in Kingston. And didn't quite get to finish that because I ended up in the hospital in my third semester. And then I moved to Ottawa on Halloween of 1994. So it wasn't until 2002 that I started getting into any kind of activism when I was mostly at Christine's urging. So.
Right.
And,
so, Christine, you got any education or anything, hobbies you can tell us about?
Let's see. I've got a little bit. I went to Algonquin College and I graduated with a diploma in graphic arts. Let's see. I also, as far as employment has gone, besides working the typical retail, I worked a little while as a darkroom technician. I've also worked at a newspaper. Let's see, what else have I done? My gosh.
Barista.
Yeah, a barista. My last job was working at Second Cup.
Your last job was working at a store.
Oh, yes, that's right. Sorry, I forgot about that. Yeah. And, but...
Hang on for a second.
Yeah. Now, the two of you are both medical users of cannabis. A little bit that you like to tell us a bit about why you use cannabis and how you consume it?
Well, and PTSD, and how we consume is well about 9 grams a day each. We eat, melted into olive oil. Like we just simmer it for a long time in the olive oil, strain it through cheesecloth, and then that's how we take in most of it. And then throughout the day we have various, sort of every 3 hours we have sessions with the volcano where we inhale it, and we also use the bong, dry bong, to smoke it too.
At the beginning there, when you first started talking, Russell, I missed basically why you both use cannabis.
Oh, fibromyalgia and PTSD,
Yep.
epilepsy and PTSD.
Okay, great. We caught that one. Was it hard for the two of you to become licensed under the AR program?
Well, it was hard at first for me because I needed a chronic pain specialist to sign specifically. This is back in 2003, back in the days when a specialist had to be the one to sign, not just the GP.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in Christine's case, it took from right into early 2003, but she was doing so well on cannabis that her doctor finally relented, and her neurologist relented and signed. So she got it before I did, shortly before I did, and then I had a chronic pain specialist who signed for me.
Right.
Then he lost his license. Then I had to go a year with no license, and then I had another person sign, and then my GP's been signing ever since. We've been really lucky overall.
Yeah.
Compared to other people, we've been super lucky. Yeah.
And Christine, with your epilepsy, some of the benefits that you found?
Well, as far as that goes, I'm able to stay conscious through the day. I'm not high and loaded on anticonvulsants, and not being able to be psychologically, emotionally available because of those pharmaceuticals. So cannabis allows me to take care of the majority of my symptoms that I have with epilepsy. I still don't exactly have quite the amount of seizure control as I would like, but it's certainly much better than what it would be on pharmaceuticals. As well as that, it tends to take care of a lot of other symptoms that I have and other disorders that I'm also managing as well. So I'm able to do this with just simply one medication, one substance, rather than being on a whole myriad of drugs and pills and stuff like this. So
she's in quite a bit of pain too because of a lifetime of these convulsive seizures.
Correct.
Still having, 1 or 2 a month.
Yeah.
So,
and what was she? How many convulsions or seizures were you going through before cannabis? Christine?
Well, it's I can answer that better. I remember the numbers really well.
You do the numbers.
Okay. For the first half of 2002, she had about 60 seizures of different shapes and kinds. And in May of 2002, she decided to quit all of her pharmaceuticals and use cannabis. And then she only had 13 more that year.
Wow.
So in 2003, I think she had 13. In 2004, she had 9. In 2005, I think she had 5. She got down to 3 seizures a year. And then in March of 2008, she had a triple seizure. I called the ambulance. They shot her full of Ativan, took her to ER. They gave her a low dose of Dilantin, and she's been having 2 ever since. So we don't know what happened or what caused that sudden gigantic episode.
Right.
And it was horrendous. It was terribly traumatic for both of us. I thought she was going to die. Like, it was a full-on hospital drama with people shouting stuff at each other, tearing things open, and tubes and wires and all this crap, and it was really scary. And she hasn't been the same since. So I've been taking care of her.
But I've been plagued with seizures ever since I've been a child. As far as I can remember, I've always been having them.
Yeah.
When I was younger and I was having the seizures, a lot of people told me, well, you're just having fainting spells. We don't know exactly what's going on, this type of thing. So eventually, finally, when I was about 20, 21 years old, I was able to see a neurologist in Kingston, and I was actually diagnosed at that point with epilepsy, and it's just been managing it since with.
And it's a rare form too.
So.
Yeah.
The thing they don't talk about in the brochures of epilepsy is that about 1/3 of people with epilepsy don't respond to the medications that. So their life becomes a drugged out mess of just living in homes or staying in one room with a helmet on, kind of stuff.
Correct.
So, this is the thing is, even though she's still having 2-3 seizures a month, she's having better overall quality of life with this than she would be with anything else.
Exactly, and that's a big point. Improve quality of life. No.
Hey, if she was one of these people who could just take 2 tablets a day, have some side effects that weren't that great, and no seizures, like some epileptics, well, that would be the wisest thing to do. And if cannabis works better than that, well, then use cannabis. But if it doesn't work better than that, then use that. But in her case, she's tried all the medications. All they do is bring a lot of side effects. I mean, the whole list practically. And they bring more seizures, not fewer. And the quality of life falls apart. There's no sex drive. She puts on a bunch of weight. Her gums recede because they puff up and then they pull back, and then the teeth are more exposed. And it's very bad. And there's all kinds of other side effects. So overall, this just healthier way to go.
Healthier way to do it. I've been commented to me, about if you start to cough, people say, "Oh, how's that medicine if you start to cough?" Well, if coughing is a small side effect of cannabis, I'd much rather have that than the ones that you just described and what Christine goes through with her medications. So,
if anybody ever wags their finger at me about having a cough, I'll get up in their face about it, because I've had a sinus problem since I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
I was in a wheelchair for 5.5 years, got out. My neck is killing me today, all kinds of stuff. If a genie came out of a bottle or whatever and said, I can do one thing for you, what do you want me to do? I'll say, fix this goddamn nose. The sinus problems I've had since I was 16 are the number one biggest cause of grief in my life.
Wow, eh?
So that's where my coughing comes from.
It's
constantly just trickling snot, and it drives me insane. So that's why I'm always coughing and clearing my throat and working up phlegm, is not from... And if anything, cannabis has helped a lot of this. My sinuses are actually much better with all my cannabis use than they were.
Yes,
I live in the
exactly.
Ottawa Valley, too. I mean, you're in Peterborough, man. You're up there in Peterborough. We're down here in a valley. It's like just living in a bowl of potpourri.
We're in a dust bowl.
It's like somebody just walk up and blow a handful of dust in your face.
Right.
It's really bad for... If you're a sinus sufferer, you do not want to move to Ottawa.
No, it's not a good place.
Every season is bad. It's for different reasons.
Winter is bad.
Every season's got its own different kind of bad. So that's the thing. My cough is all coming from my phlegm and from my my snot problem. So pot actually helps it.
Yeah, I find it works as a decongestion, especially through the winter time.
Expectorant too.
Yep. Okay. We got to hear how the cannabis helps Christine with her epilepsy. You yourself, Russell, you got a bit of a story about you were spent some time in a wheelchair.
Yeah. In 2001, I had a spasm, not unusual back spasm, but another one of my big thoracic back spasms, and it was sending just terrible pain down my legs and everything. And finally, I twisted so bad I couldn't walk properly. And then I got home, was in bed for several days, and just getting back and forth to the bathroom was just an excruciating nightmare. So stupidly, I didn't go to a chiropractor and stuff, but because I didn't know one at the time, and I atrophied very quickly. And this was in November, so by February, I was just shriveled right up. I couldn't barely walk 150 feet. So
from 160
that was later.
To 120.
Yeah. So then, we got a push wheelchair, for me. Right. Christine's parents got us that. She pushed me around in a wheelchair. It was like one of these hospital chairs. And we were going through the snow and on sidewalks and all kinds of stuff. It was really, really hard on her, man. Because she's tall, right? She's 5'10". So she had to lean down to push the chair around. It wasn't like she could just walk all nice and just push it. Right. So so that was a drag. Then a mechanical wheelchair, and I was in with that until March of 2007. And the thing that got me out was mostly my diet. But back in, I guess, 2005 or so, I was at this special clinic place getting the full assessment. It was like a 6-week in program. They were going to sort of rehab me and all this kind of stuff. After the assessment, they went, well, there's nothing we can teach you. You're already doing better. You're eating better and doing better than the people in our program. You're sort of the result of our program rather than what is normally the intake. So we can't really help you. But in the process, I had told them that it was my speculation that if I had a big pile of weed, that I could, do as much as I could to get past the pain, and then I could exercise a little, strengthen me up, and then I could have some more weed and just gradually, sort of snowball the thing positively and gradually get my strength back. Yeah. And they gave me one of these sort of polite, well, yeah, that's an interesting idea, kind of looks. And then they pulled Christine aside and they said, no, he's being unrealistic. This is his life now in the chair.
Get him used
to that, because psychologically he needs to get used to that.
So they get to tell you you're in the chair for good.
Pretty much, yeah. No, I mean, I wasn't bum stuck to the chair. I could get up and walk around. I could get from the car to the house and back and forth. If I was going to go to somebody's place for dinner, I wouldn't bring the chair, right? I'd walk out to the car and walk from the car into their place and sit and have dinner, but it was always a cane and a hassle, and I moved slow. It's kind of like having, granddad around, right? And if I had to walk like a block, forget it. I'm not even going. Don't even ask. So that was my life then. But in 2007, we lived in a place that was right across the street from a mall. And I got a Category 2 walker, and I just started to struggle. I'd hit the bowl a bunch of times, go, okay, that's my ration for now, so suit up and to the mall, And I knew that it hurt. It was hurting like hell. I mean, it still hurts to walk now. Everything hurts all the time. But I knew that if I pushed through, the muscles might recover. Right. If they didn't, they didn't. But if they did, cool, I could start walking properly again. So by May, I was walking by June, I was walking without a cane. Good. Just walking normal. The first while I was wobbly as hell, too. I mean, it was like watching.
And then, and then you made your way out of the cane, out of the wheelchair eventually, to the surprise of the doctors.
Well, yeah, they were really all thrilled, It helped having a chiropractor right next door, too. My doctor's office was right up the same parking lot as my building, and then the mall was just across the road. So, I was seeing a chiropractor, and then I could just go home and relax. I didn't have to take a long bus home. Yeah.
When the doctor also saw you,
yep.
And she ended up crying.
And this was during a period of time, too, that Christine wasn't having very many seizures. So I could leave her alone at home to work on paintings or whatever. She could go to the mall by herself, get groceries and stuff by herself. There was a big period where she was doing stuff by herself. And before we got together, she was just living on her own and trying to keep a job and trying to keep an apartment. But she was having 2-3 seizures a month anyway. Right. Falling down and hurting herself, wrecking stuff in her apartment, getting robbed, all kinds of stuff. Breaking her nose,
Oh, yeah.
So that's a good story to hear you're able to get out of that wheelchair and be able to use your legs and move around. So
And I walk fast.
That's
too.
good.
It's not like I walk briskly. I walk briskly and I can go like 4 clicks in one.
Nice. Okay, now you're also involved in activism, trying to get the word out there to people about cannabis. One of the ways that I understand that the two of you have done a video of Christine and her epileptic seizure. Why did you guys do that, and what's been the reaction to it?
Wow. This is an interesting story. In January of 2003, we had a video camera, an old 8mm video camera, sitting on a tripod. So all I had to do, I had a battery, and all I had to do was flip up the standby, it would turn on, push the button, and record it, right? So my friend was over, and she had a seizure, so I said, here, hold this, don't zoom in, just bring the camera in close, because the autofocus is screwed. It's a really old camera. He goes, okay, well, what do I do? I said, just point it at me, and then let me talk. Now, she'd been bugging me for a long time, but she hadn't had a seizure in a while.
Right.
She says, or actually, yeah, you hadn't had one in a while, but she's like, I want to see one. I've never seen what they're like, because I was telling her, they're just terrific. You grind your teeth and you're foaming at the mouth and you're thrashing. It's insane. She's like, yeah, I fall, I faint. No, you don't faint. You have those too, but this is different. So we got the footage. She saw the footage. I didn't show it to her for like 3 days. She's like, okay, I'm ready. She watched it, and she was like crying, pawing at the screen, like trying to help whoever this person was stumbling around in our apartment in this video, right?
It felt like a person that I'm missing a part of. I feel like this is a sliver of my self-conscious that is just not available to me. And to be able to see myself, see my body animated and moving without my consciousness in it is just horrific.
It was spooky for anybody.
It's seeing something absolutely voodoo on television.
And this is
incredible.
Where she referred to it as, she looks like a meat puppet, right?
Wow.
So that was in 2003. So we got the video, and that was intense, and
Yeah.
So fast forward to January of 2007. A friend of mine says, you should check out this thing called YouTube. I said, what's YouTube? And he's YOUTUB. He says, you go there, you just type in whatever, and they've got music videos. It's just this video page, man. Just go look at it. Just go see it. I can't even explain it. It's too awesome. So I go to YouTube. I thought, this is cool, the doors, live doors. Cool. I'm looking up all this fun stuff that I want to see. She says, put in epilepsy. Bunch of kids faking seizures, bunch of stuff that says, caution, don't watch this if you have epilepsy, because there's just got a flicker to it, Yeah. Kids faking them, people. And then there was a couple of people actually having seizures.
But it was hospital.
But it was like hospital footage.
Like hospital camera footage from
up in
way
the
above.
So all you see is a person just going like this in a bed and a bunch of brainwave chart, running down the side.
Yeah.
So she said, our footage is way better than that. Mix it up, put it up. I'm like, I don't even know how to mix video. What do I do now? So they called an activist friend at the time. He brought his stuff over. We had to mix the 8-minute video into digital, and it was just a big problem. Added a bunch of text to it about medical marijuana, and we put it up. Right away, the thing starts getting like 1,000 hits a day, right? I email it to the Ottawa Sun. It wasn't like I'm talking like 10, 12 minutes later. He calls me. He's like, "Are you crazy?" There's a reporter I'd met before. He goes, "Dude, are you crazy? You putting your wife's on your wife on the internet like this? This is not."
Broke my tooth.
She even breaks a tooth video. It's intense, right?
I'd break a quarter off of my molar.
So he calls up Epilepsy Ontario. He's like, "What do you think of this video?" And the woman's like, "Well, I don't know. I really like the idea of that. Meat puppet and all this marijuana talk. I don't really know if that's a good idea." So right away, there's controversy with this thing, right? Right out of the starting gate. And it kept getting 1,000 hits a day. And it went on and on like that for a long time. But people kept saying, the main comment we got was, hey, the text is going by too fast. It's kind of cluttered. I can't really see it. So right away we put up the second one. The second one has Christine talking at the beginning, and she mentions about the rude comments. We're leaving those comments there. We let everybody put up their rude comments, their horrible comments.
Yes.
We leave it there. We leave it there for the world to see. The kind of shit that epileptics have to go through.
Ignorant those people are.
Because everyone, and people pile on. Some troll puts, LOL, just shoot her or whatever, and then people just pile on this troll or whatever, they report him. So I just let it all happen. We just let this all happen on the page, man.
It's educating, and it's also exposing ignorance at the same time.
Yes. So then,
totally.
We put the second one up. We put the second one up like a week later, or a few days later. No text, no nothing. And then it was about 3 years, I guess. And we had 1.5 million hits on the first one. And then it got pulled for, the pot references. Somebody finally complained. And we were like, Christ, it lasted that long, And there was a nice article in the Ottawa Citizen about us. The nice picture of us there, with the monitor and her having the seizure on the monitor. So it was pretty cool.
Then it was also on TV on the States.
Then we get a call. We get a call from the doctors. Let me go back a bit. So the video's up there, and right away I'm getting requests. Right? Can we use this in the school? Can I use this to on this presentation? So I had to change the text and say yes. You can do anything you want with this. Share and enjoy. And we got emails from a doctor who ran the hospital part of a prison, and they said they wanted to use that footage to teach, so that they could distinguish real seizures from fake ones in prison, so to help save people's lives and reduce the danger. But he's trying to fake a seizure and injure a guard or whatever. It goes both ways. So there was that. I've had young people, like as young as 15, saying, I'm doing a presentation in school about epilepsy, and right up into professors teaching at university level saying, can we use this footage in our class? So after I changed the text on the page, the accompanying text of the video, there's nothing on the video, but you read the text with it. It says, this information, do what you want, download it, share it, copy it, spread it around, So it could be getting used in all kinds of places. Then we got a call, an email, and a guy says, months ago, a friend of mine, his dog had a seizure in front of me. I said, what the hell's going on? He said, dog's having a seizure, right? He's got epilepsy. So I look it up. I saw your video. And you're pretty instructive about how to take care of the seizure and everything. He says, well, the other day somebody comes into my place of work and has a seizure. Everyone else just freaks out. I don't know what to do. I might have saved the guy's life. So that happens. You get an email like that. I mean, some mornings you get up, you're so depressed and angry, and you hate and then you get an email like that. Like, wow.
And for an epileptic to have epilepsy and to be going through so many different kinds of seizures, so many levels of violence of seizures, and to be able to help educate and to be able to have such goodness and such come from something that's just absolutely horrific.
We've been told that this video has saved lives.
Wonderful.
And I mean, if they're using it in schools, I'm yet to find a piece of footage anywhere that matches it. One day somebody's going to have a camera really good and close, because everyone's got cameras now, right? I mean, everybody has cameras now.
Yeah.
So one day someone's going to put up a piece of footage that is going to, ours will pale by comparison.
Someday.
But I haven't seen it yet. Not yet. Because we get right, for those who haven't seen the video, we get right in close. She's all purple. There's veins bulging out of her neck, and she breaks a tooth.
Yeah, you can see the sphincter muscles around.
You can see her eyes twitching like this. Wow. It's just amazing.
It's probably something that would.
Very intense.
It's like you say, Christine. It's you're watching that experience of somebody, and you want to help them, and it's brought probably quite a few tears to people to watch. You go through that on the video.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got about 10 minutes left, so I want to touch on a couple things. The next thing is the two of you, as far as helping bring awareness, have worked on a children's book called Mummy's Funny Medicine. Can you tell us the story about that, what it got it started, and what's involved, its availability?
Well, in late 2002, I started using medical marijuana about 6 months in. We were talking to somebody on the street. I was on Bank Street. It was miserable weather. I started commiserating with another person in a wheelchair. So we got talking about, why he was in the chair, why I was in the chair. And she said she was using a lot of codeine. I said, oh, well, you should try medical marijuana. She's like, oh, no, I couldn't use that. It's as bad as heroin. And it's, you're gobbling up codeine, and you're telling me pot's as bad as heroin? It's not. Read the science. So she goes, oh, no. I said, you ever try quitting codeine? And I saw this, look on her face, and I knew, because I've kicked codeine 3 times myself.
I saw this demon fly
in between us.
In between both of those two people.
It was just like, she knew I was to her. Like when she runs out, this codeine withdrawal is a nightmare. It's not as bad as what I've seen heroin. You don't go into convulsions and shock, but God, it's a nightmare. So as we pulled away, she's like, what would I tell my grandson? I said, tell him the truth. Tell him your purple medicine you get when you have a cold is for you, and this is Granny's medicine. It's pretty simple, duh. So she goes off in her chair, So we go off, and one of us said to the other, we don't even remember which one, somebody should write a children's book. And we didn't think anything of it. So then it was Christmas Eve or a couple of days before Christmas or something. My parents were down in Florida, and we were already talking about becoming public activists and doing something with the news and talking with them about a compassion club. So I said, how are we even going to, so we have a conversation on the phone with my parents. Hey, Christmas, yeah, okay, well, have a good time, talk to you, bye. And then I said, how am I even going to broach this topic that I'm using medical marijuana? They don't know. How do I even bring it up? It's like they're so stupid. I have to use a children's book or something. See, Russell, his chair. See, Russell feeling better. And then we looked at each other like, we knew right away, oh my God, what a crazy big idea. I was, geez. So we got a piece of paper and we just started jotting this down right away. And
doodling.
And that's how we came up with the idea in like quick sketches. I said we should do it from a kid point of view. Kid looking at the parent who's sick. So in the book, Heather, the girl, is basically Christine's point of view, and Mommy is me. I'm the, mommy's carrying my sort of symptom.
People might have thought it was the other way around. Like, Christine was the...
Right, exactly. But so the thing is, so in the book, I'm basically Mommy. Right. We just switched it around because it was easier than Daddy's man. We kicked it around. So we literally hammered the sketch, the text as it went in the book. It must have come out in about a half an hour. Because it's like 1,000 words, not even. It was very quick to write it out. So we had some quick sketches, and we're like, oh, this is so great, this is so great. So we told Mike Foster, he's only a few pages in, his eyes are all wet. He's like, we got to do this book. You got to do this book. He is the owner of Crosstown Traffic, which is the flagship head shop in Ottawa.
Yep.
There's lots of other head shops. There's some that are physically larger, but he was really the first one. It's just an awesome place.
Premium quality.
And he's also been a big activist for like 25 years in Ottawa. He's not just some guy who owns a head shop. He's an activist. And
Yes.
Yeah, I should actually have my hat off talking about it, quite frankly.
Yeah.
No, seriously, he's Canadian activism royalty when it comes to marijuana.
Okay, continue the story.
So he says, you got to do this. You got to do this. So we're like, we're on it. But how do we publish this? He goes, I'll think of something. I know publishers and printers. You leave that to me. You get it done. So she starts doing drawings, right? And I'm getting, every time she go, come here, look at this. What do you think? She pencils something up and I'm like, oh my God. And I start crying. It looks so great. So she gave me all these line works. I scanned them all, touched them all up, get rid of all the weird little dots and whatnot. And then I colorized them all and put it all together with the text. And that took, it took her about a month to draw it, I think it was, and about a month to colorize it, something like that. Mm-hmm. And we managed to get it published. When we showed Mike the galleys, we had it all, just as big images. He said, okay, they got to be set properly. But he says, I think I'm just going to do it myself. So I said, oh, wow, okay, cool. So he just talked to a printer and got got a price and everything, and he had 2,000 copies made. So we said, that's awesome. We'll do it for charity. We don't want any money for it. So, and
it's the book. The book itself, when you hold it, it's an educational medium in a very non-threatening form. Having information such as that available in that book, but in a format that is just very simple and very non-threatening. It's easy for anybody of any age to leave that on a coffee table. For example, if I was going to be getting starting using cannabis, if I was trying to approach this topic maybe with my parents, if I feel that I couldn't actually talk to them about it, I'd maybe, get a copy of this book and leave it out on the coffee table underneath Dad's Sunday newspaper.
People have told us
this type of thing.
Older people have told us our young adult children were totally against us using marijuana. Then they saw your book. It totally bridged the gap, and it started
to help change their mind.
Started healing. Yeah, people in their 20s. You're saying my adult parents, my older parents, obviously, they couldn't cope with this. They saw the book. There's peace in the family again. They've shown it to little kids and stuff. So we've got a lot of positive feedback about the book. And there's a read-through video on YouTube where, we have some nice Palatini music in the back. Christine just reads all the text.
People can just search out Mummy's Funny Medicine on YouTube and they'll be able to get the video of it. Right. Okay, I'm just watching my time here. There's lots of stuff that I had hoped. Oh, I'm told don't worry about it. Maybe Marina, the owner here at the cafe, she doesn't know that you and I, Russell, we have spoken for 4.5 hours before, so
We can
so
do
I
it.
won't go that.
I've got time. We've got time.
I'm in Ottawa. It's not like I got anything else to do.
Yeah.
Later.
Well, later.
Another thing
Later.
that,
We'll do that
you
later.
have achieved through your activism is you have become North America's fourth leading letter to editor writer. Want to tell us a bit about that?
Sure, yeah. Well, in 2002, I started writing some letters to the editor. Got, one or two published. It was one of those things that if I sent and didn't get published, I'd be like, all right. So I wouldn't send one for a long time. But then in around October 2003, I started getting more published. And again, this is before we knew about Facebook, and there wasn't Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. So I had a lot more time on my hands. And I just started pounding them out. Every time I would go and look on the forums, I found a letter, I find an article or somebody else's letter, I'd reply to it. Just pounding them out, right?
I had a list of websites.
I had a list of websites to go. That was my main focus. So from October of 2003 for about 8 years, I did that. And I got about an average of 100 a year.
And that 100 took you how many letters to write? Thousands.
Thousands. Maybe 20,000. I don't even know. See, it's funny because what happened is sometimes I see an article in the Vancouver Sun, right? And it'll be about an issue, medical marijuana, right? But that article is also going to show up in a bunch of other associated newspapers, right? In CanWest. So you got to go hunt for those. You got to find those email addresses and send it to those editors too. And then they put them on. And sometimes you only get it online. Sometimes you get it in the paper. And then other times, like for example, I wrote a letter about hemp. It was quite long too. And I sent it to pretty much, I don't know, maybe 300 or 400 newspapers in Canada. I don't even remember how many. I just sent it to every newspaper I could find in every province, even up in the Yukon and Northwest Territories and everything. And I think I got it in over a course of 3 months. It showed up in 23 or 26 different newspapers.
One letter that they...
So the one letter that I sent off to 300 or 400 different places got printed, that many times. Now the thing about a letter that big, there's a lot of times it would get into a small town newspaper.
They like to restrict the size of letters, right?
Well, sometimes they do, and sometimes they look at it and they go, let's just run this as an article, because it saves them having to put a lot of filler in, or they have to write something, right? So if they get something that's intelligent and informed and coherent, and they can just put the editor at the bottom, they don't have to be responsible for the accuracy of the content.
Yeah.
So it's verging on. So they started verging on op-eds. In fact, a couple of times I'd send out something off to the Ottawa Citizen, and there was a really nice letters editor there, and he would call me and say, "All right, look, you need to change this and that." So he would work with me to get it right for his paper. And then he had me in to have a serious photo like this taken, of me, the writer, of a letter and stuff. I have to break the law to heal myself and all this. So this kind of stuff happened. And then there was a lot of times I would write one letter and just send it to every newspaper, and it would show up in 3 or 4 places at once, over one weekend or over 1 week. I had one letter in 4 newspapers in one day. That was pretty awesome. I think it was the one about Pierre Burton.
So your advice to somebody who is writing letters is, even if your letter doesn't show up, keep pounding them out, because eventually they will get.
And the thing is, too, the editors read them, right? The editors are looking at these letters, and if they start getting more a consensus of people who are sending in a lot of intelligent, concise letters, especially if you correct them and say, well, actually, your article about this, correct them. And people are like, oh, I don't have time for that. Yeah, well, you got time to sit on the bus and play some game on your phone or whatever. You got to play a video. Take an hour to write some
exactly,
letters.
Exactly. You're
done
part
it.
of the problem by
I've already
sitting
done
there
it.
and playing video games versus going out and trying to help change things.
Yeah. So there's other guys who have done a lot more.
Yeah.
Robert Sharp is Kirk Muse is the other one, and Stan White. Those are the three guys ahead of me. Now Robert Sharp, he does a lot of it in the States. I hardly ever wrote to any place in the States. If I had taken the time to just write to places in the States, I could probably, my numbers would be up like
this. Yeah, they
his
probably
too,
would. And it's quite the accomplishment just to become fourth. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's fourth in the world.
Trading basically in Canada. Yeah. In
Canada, yeah. And the thing is, too, I don't know for sure, but I don't think anybody else in Canada has ever written 800 letters published in Canada. So I might just be the most published letter to the editor writer
Canadian history.
Canadian
and
history.
just so people know, this isn't just like this is all letters, not just cannabis letters. You're the fourth published
Right, exactly.
editor writer on all subjects. Now,
I don't know about that. I don't know about that, but if you go through the history of Canada, is there anybody who's had more than 800 letters published?
Yeah, really.
In their life?
I don't know.
So letters to the editor, I don't know. So I can't really say, I'm the biggest letter writer in Canadian history, but it's starting to look like I am.
I've been writing for years. I got maybe 20 in.
Because I know Stan White, Kirk Muse. Yeah, well, those guys are all American. Yeah. Robert Sharp, Kirk Muse, and Stan White are all American. So I think
the next thing I want to touch on, all right, is a news conference that you held. Not many people get an opportunity to hold a news conference to oppose an opposite of their prime minister of their country. So would you like to fill us in on this story and how you're able to accomplish that?
Okay, well, how we accomplished that was with the help of Tim Meehan.
Yeah.
And he knew a little bit more about getting onto getting a press conference at Parliament Hill is actually pretty easy. You call up the press gallery. There's a phone number. You can find them online. And you say, I want to hold a press conference in the Charles Lynch room. And they'll say, okay, what's that about? And what date? And when do you want to do this? And this sort of thing. So we did this kind of stuff. And we learned a lot of stuff about that, but that's another story. And this story, what happened was Stephen Harper was going to be giving a speech right over at the Chateau Laurier, which is quite literally next door. It's just over it's right next to the canal, and the canal is right there by Parliament Hill. They're right there at the Chateau Laurier at the Canadian Chief Police Association, right? All the Canadian chiefs of police are there. So he's having a big press conference. He's giving a speech at their big thing. So we said, all right, we're going to have a press conference right after whatever. He's scheduled to have his speech at a certain time. We'll have our press conference at the same time. So we show up, and I was using my wheelchair at the time. Christine's there, me and Tim. I think that was about it. I don't think anybody else came with us. So maybe John Ipata was there.
I think it was
So we go there, and there's nobody. Right? There's almost no. I think there was one or two reporters. I don't remember, but there was hardly anybody. It was not a big press conference. So we stand up there, and Tim gives an introduction. And he's got ready, and I get up and I talk for 11 minutes or something. She gets up and she talks for 7 minutes, and there weren't too many questions because there's only one or two guys there, and then that was it. And we went, wow, that's a drag.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So we went home, and we found out afterwards, someone told us, oh, my God, you were on CPAC. And we said, what happened? And they said it was the craziest thing. Stephen Harper is there giving a speech live, right? They're feeding this live on CPAC. We're going to give you the tools you need, and blah, 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 this and that, and wank, wank, wank. So everyone's like, yeah, that's great, okay. And it cuts to Van Dusen in the studio. Going, okay, so that was Prime Minister Stephen Harper at the blah, 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 and this and that. And now here's some activists who disagree with their crime policy. We go live to the Charles Lynch room, and they cut to the middle of Tim's introduction. And then her and I get to talk uninterrupted for whatever, like 17 minutes.
Nice.
And they didn't cut back to them. They just let us talk. They didn't like, okay, that's them. They're going to talk for days, so we're going to go to another thing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times they do in the news, right? They just let us go. And we never saw the footage of this.
Probably.
It's probably in the archives there someplace, But when we were done, then they cut to Van Dusen. Okay, well, they gave this thing and gave a couple of highlights. He probably had the teleprompter ready for him, and then they went on to whatever else. I didn't have CPAC at the time, so I didn't know. But people called. They're like, "Oh my God, the whole thing!"
Yeah, I guess
so
you would
we
be.
were really happy about that. And then, of course, we had quotes. There were quotes by both of us. There were quotes. I think there were quotes by both of us in print media the next day too.
There was that as well.
There was that.
Well,
And another time we showed up. Another time we went to talk about driving. Nobody came.
Yeah.
Like there was the cameraman and us. Not one reporter came. Not one. And we were like, man, this is just the worst ever. But it was about driving. New driving laws they have with marijuana and driving, right? And drug driving. So we thought, oh, well, the next day, it was like the bottom half of the front page of the Vancouver Sun was this article about the driving and long quotes from me and the whole press conference.
You never know. So,
it's tricky living in Ottawa. It's such a trip living in this town, man. It's so weird. It's like living in a time warp.
Yeah. Marina here, the owner, she agrees. Okay, now I want to move on to the MMPR. Everybody knows that the MMAR is changing, and we're being forced to swallow this MMPR unless some action can make some changes. Can you tell us a bit about how this program is going to affect the two of you?
We're screwed. That's all I can say. We're screwed.
Affordability, strain
selection,
that's all gone.
The affordability, quality, strain selection. Gone. We contacted Health Canada, right? Contacted Rona Ambrose. I got my MP to contact Rona Ambrose, right? And say, listen, we're not going to be able to afford this. What are we supposed to do? So they said, she replies, contact your health care provider, health insurance provider, right? Well, in our case, that's the province of Ontario. So I contact the province of Ontario, and they said, hey, medical marijuana is on the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act. We can't even talk about it.
Until it has a DIN.
Like, we can't, until it's a medicine with a DIN, we can't do anything about it. So it's like, you ask your dad, hey, can I do this thing? And he says, well, you better ask your mom. And you go ask your mom, well, what did your dad say?
Right. I know there was a couple of years ago when all these meetings were going on and they were meeting with people. The government told the Compassion Center operators and stuff that were involved in the meeting that it would require patients as well as the commercial distributors to lobby the insurance industry for coverage. Otherwise, we were on our own. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So we're
whatever happened about caring about the patients instead of caring about whether a multi-million-dollar company is making $1 billion a year in profit.
Exactly. And this Ontario government is already so mired in scandal. The last thing they need is, we're going to start just, giving people people on Ontario disability and welfare, we're going to pay for their medical marijuana. Now, forget the fact that it's safer, more effective, and cheaper than many of the drugs that are already covered under the ODS.
Probably reduce healthcare costs.
Exactly. They would look at this and they go, wow, this is a no-brainer. But how do we tell the public? This? With Tim Hudak, yap, 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 yap. With Sun News Network, yap, 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 yap. How do we get any of this across to the public, right? It's up to us. It's up to people like us to sit on the bus and talk loud. Here's cancer. and the government's taking away our medicine, we're going to die. So,
have a mission to every person out there who's advocating for cannabis to talk to at least one or two people daily, constantly, in order to.
Well, I mean, I usually wear a T-shirt that has something that's going to attract attention.
I do the same thing.
Usually it's my marijuana cures cancer T-shirt,
Got
which
my
always
time
gets
for
people
hemp
talking.
T-shirt on.
Yeah, yeah. I think everybody should get one that says marijuana cures cancer. Now, some people wag a finger about that and they go, well, cure, you can't really say cure, but let's talk about the word cure for a minute, right? If you take a treatment for a medical condition and the medical condition goes away, then it's a cure. But if it doesn't go away, then it's a treatment that failed. Well, as a medical treatment, marijuana has cured people's cancer. In the past, doing so in the present, likely will in the future. But a good friend who we never got to meet in person, Michelle Rainey, she was taking a double dose of the stuff, cancer ate her right up, man. So it's not magic. A lot of people are getting chemo or radiation. They're like, yeah, I'm doing great. I feel great. I'm doing great. All of a sudden they get some sinus infection. Boom, the guy's dead 3 days later. Or something like that. It can be that quick with cancer. So to say, marijuana cures cancer, well, water doesn't cure thirst, but it's a conversation starter. And that's why it says marijuana cures cancer, look it up. So they're going to go look it up online, or they're going to take their phone out and start looking. There they go. It's better than walking around with an Ottawa Senators T-shirt on, or a Toronto Maple Leafs, or some other.
Talking about Michelle Rainey, I see you have a medicinal T-shirt on from Michelle, and as I look at the calendar, we are 5 days away from, I believe, the third anniversary of Michelle's passing. There will be the third annual Michelle Rainey Walk will be held in Toronto on the 20th. That is looked after by Erin Butterfly, and she organizes that every year. So, yeah.
Awesome. I wish we could try and organize one in Ottawa, but honestly, we struggle just to get our own errands and stuff done, our own sanity in order, And this town is just
pitiful.
It's hard to get even 5 people to do postering and this kind of stuff. It's different in Toronto. You get the Vapor Lounge. You got all these people who are congregating.
We run into the same problem here in Peterborough, and there's a fellow by the name of Blazer Wrinkles who's working very hard. He does the Peterborough 420 and Peterborough Cannabis Day, and he's working on some other secret projects right now that I can't elaborate on till another time. But if they come through to fruition, it's going to be a huge step here in this area, I'll tell you. Last question.
I'm guessing.
And this got to do with legalization of marijuana. And the stories that we're hearing in the news with Justin Trudeau and when he's talking about legalizing, and he talked about how he thought that the new MMPR program had to remove grows from people's houses. Is this a pipe dream of his? Or is this something that it could be a possibility? Because you and I, we both know we've heard this for 40 years. But does this seem a little bit different this time?
I think it's different this time because of, the cancer information, internet, doctors like Sanjay Gupta, the changes in the U.S., Israel, this kind of thing. I think we're off to a good start. The problems I foresee with the Liberals is that they see it as a contentious and difficult issue to get across to the public already. As you can see, it's sort of helping their popularity, but it's still kind of scrambling to get coherent, right? It's not and the thing is, people keep Justin Trudeau saying this and Justin Trudeau saying that. It's not like he goes bursting out of the gate, well, I think this and that about marijuana. It's the press ask him a question and he politely responds in a fairly intelligent and almost fully informed way. Now, I agree with him about the MMPR. Taking away people's grows is ridiculous. It's the safest, cheapest, most effective way to get medicine to the people, for the people who want it. People like us, forget about it. The best way for us is commercial grows, the big ones that produce and send it through provincial, bodies deliver it to her door like they do with her hormone thyroid
coverage-
medication that she's got to take,
coverage
right?
and the whole bit.
That's all free. That's delivered to our door. So for some people,
No.
not everybody wants to grow. Not everybody needs to be growing. I mean, some people have a dose load so big that they'd have to live in a 6-bedroom apartment to do it. You know, you cannot. Some people can get by in 3 or 4. I know a guy who got by in 1 pinner a day for his,
Oh,
for
really?
his
Eh?
Crohn's.
I know.
Yeah. He says, man, I said, you don't use very much. He says, I roll these little thin joints. He says, I smoke a half of one a night. I don't have Crohn's. He says, if I miss that joint, boy, do I have Crohn's. It's like I got broken glass inside me.
Yeah.
And I shit blood, you know. But
So
if
when
I have
people
my
talk
dinner,
about
I'm good.
legalization, some people picture everybody growing 1,000 plants. Is this something that some
So
people, whether you're government or recreational users or just anybody in society, should be worried about somebody growing 1,000 plants?
I don't think so. Because, you know, if let's say the law fell apart tomorrow and, you know, Peter Mansbridge and, you know, every other news, Kevin Newman and everybody like, well, that's it, man. Marijuana is legal. The law fell apart. It's like abortion. It's all up in the air. You know, we don't know what to do. And everybody starts growing. Okay, great. Everyone's going to be growing on their balconies. Everyone's going to grow it in their backyards. Everyone's going to grow. But somebody's going to grow 1,000 plants one summer. And be, oh boy. And they're going to hang it all up in their shed. And it's going to cure real nice. And they're going to trim it all. And they're going to bag it all. And they're going to, okay, great. And they're going to bring it to the market. And the market's going to say, yeah, you know, $800 a pound. What? Are you crazy? I cost me that much to grow all this.
So basically, because everybody's
We
got
have a
1,000
glut.
plants,
It's
nobody's
called
got
a
any.
market. It's called a market glut. It's a lot of work to go with 1,000 plants, man. Especially if it's all one harvest, right? If you're growing 10 rows of 100 plants, you're going to cut them all down and hang them in one weekend. You think you're going to trim all that in one weekend? Maybe with a big machine.
And if everybody's growing 1,000 plants, where is it going to go anyways?
Exactly. Who's he going to sell it to if every grandmother and every teenager's already got their 5 or 10 or 20 plants in their backyard or their shed or their basement or whatever? So some guy's going to grow 1,000 plants. He's going to try and get it to the States. What's he going to do? Put it on a truck and just drive across the border?
No,
it's not that easy. Even the bikers are going to be turning it down, and the mafia are going to be turning it down because they're like, hey, we got plenty. There's a market glut. No one's buying it, and there's only so much you can push across the border before it starts.
That's right.
Everybody starts to get hot. So, you know, I'm not worried about stuff like that. The thing I'm worried about with everybody free for all is much like we have the problem, or much like the problems we have now, is that people are growing crap weed and they think it's great. You know, you go into any head shop that's like a grow shop place, right? And you get talking to them, and people will bring little samples, like, oh yeah, look what I grew. And the guy's like, you don't know a damn thing, man. You don't know what you're doing. Get that book, this gear, this is how to do it properly. Because people are growing all this chemical-laden, raggedy-ass weed, and they're selling it to people on the street. They're selling it to teenagers. They're selling it to old people. They're selling it to sick people.
No.
And it's not cool. You know, I just wish people would take the time to grow it clean. I don't even necessarily mean organic, but just,
Flush it
you know,
out.
clean.
Get rid of the
Flush it
chemical
really
salt.
good.
Yeah.
Flush it really good, you know. Use lots of neem oil so you don't have a lot of dead in there, you know. use a lot of neem so you don't get fungus, you know. Really control your environment so you don't get mold. This kind of stuff. But nah, man, just fungicide that shit. Just pesticide that shit. Just pound it. Snap, crackle, and pop, baby. You know, like it's dog shit
skunky.
weed. It's skunky, chemical, stinking dog shit weed, and it really depresses me because it's like eating. It's just like eating, you know, junk. It's like McDonald's is organic beef.
McDonald's doesn't have any
You
beef
know?
in it.
It's just exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's just a lot of chemical crap. You know?
It's just dreadful.
So this is what bothers me more about the free for all. I like the idea of, like I said, the only control I would really see is in terms of smell and in terms of sort of electrical, water, and chemical runoff. Because if every other house in the suburbs starts growing anything, pot, food, whatever, in their basement, starts dumping this stuff down the drain, the water. I mean, there's going to be algae blooms or whatever growing in our water systems and our lakes and rivers when all the sewage, our sewage treatment plants have to deal with all this stuff. And in Ottawa, every time we get more than like 2 inches of rain, our sewage treatment plant completely overflows and raw, untreated human toilet flushings go downriver toward Laurel and Hawkesbury and all points east and south.
Okay.
That's not good at all. Every time we get a heavy in Ottawa, and it's been like this for years, and I don't think they fixed it yet. We're talking 700,000 liters at a time.
And then people swim in those rivers. And people the towns suck water out of those rivers.
Down to Carry-On, yeah, exactly. Carry-On Beach, yeah, they're pulling water out of there for their farms or whatever. It's just
disgusting.
It's disgusting.
Okay, to wrap things up, have either one of you have a final word that you would like to say?
Yeah, get out busy. We were just talking about this with Matt Myrna on his show before you called. Have conversations on the bus. Have conversations in the supermarket. Fake a phone conversation with your cell phone. You don't have anybody to call. Walk around the supermarket, blah, blah, blah. Pot cures cancer. You should have seen this woman on TV on the internet. Her breast was rotting right off. Her breast is all fine from the cannabis oil. Amazing thing, blah, blah, blah. Get out and get active and just get into conversations with people about marijuana because the fucking media is not going to do it for us.
Get involved and speak up. Christine?
Yes. Yep. Well, I'm pretty well much on the same page with Russell. It would be wonderful to see more younger people get more active in their community as far as this goes, because just seeing young kids schlub around town wearing their pants halfway down their ass and
shoes all untied and whatnot.
Yeah, and shuffling their feet and using their little iPads and their little cell phones to check out porn sites.
Yeah,
like, come on, get more active in your community.
Yeah.
Please.
I've worn myself out doing this.
Okay, well, at this moment, I'd like to say thank you to Russell and Christine for taking time to educate everyone on what's it like to live as a patient and as a cannabis advocate. I'd also like to... you're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
I'd also like to thank Marina and her staff here at the Carp Diem Cafe in Peterborough. And everyone... Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And everyone present today, for those on YouTube who will be participating for being people advocating cannabis education. Thank you. Thank you, Marina. Thank you, Russell and Christine. We'll be talking with you two very soon. Okay, bye-bye.
Cool. Sounds great. Take care. Good night.
You're watching the 420 Pace Network, found at 420radio.ca and paceradio.net. Are you looking for non-stop, continuous cannabis and psychedelic programming? If you are, then turn your browsers to 420radio.ca or paceradio.net, where you will find the 420 Pace re-rolled Saturday. Everything gets